Chapter 1518. In the city of ancient emperors, the sun-gold race was completely annihilated. In fact, even that peak-level existence was annihilated. The flames of the Sun Mountain were extinguished, never to be reignited again. Today, countless experts rushed to the Sun Mountain. When they saw the extinguished flames, as well as the severed head of the gigantic sun-gold beast, everyone felt a sense of shock that came from the depths of their souls. This was the city of ancient emperors. This was a brand new era. Geniuses rose up, kings were born. However, for those who rose up, who would they trample on to advance? For those peak-level kings who once shook the heavens and earth, when the new era arrived, where would they be? Would they end up like the sun-gold beast, having their heads chopped off, their corpses lying quietly on the desolate mountain, allowing their golden blood to flow like a river, flowing down the ancient mountain? This was the best era. Many peerless geniuses would be born. But this was also the cruelest era. Even if you were unparalleled, you could still be buried in a foreign land at any time. In the past, it was the crown prince of the Sunluo immortal empire, Yama King. Today, it was the sun-gold beast. In the future, what about the #1 expert in the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wenyan? Would he be able to escape this calamity? Who could say for sure? A tyrannical race that once contended for supremacy in the city of ancient emperors was actually annihilated in a single day. The most outstanding characters in the immortal king realm were all buried in the city of ancient emperors. This news swept through the city of ancient emperors, shocking countless experts. After Qin Wenyan, there was another name that everyone knew of. He was also a human from the immortal realms. In fact, he didn't belong to any power and was just an unaffiliated cultivator. He had once followed his master for cultivation, but his master died in the hands of the sun-gold race. The karma of the past had resulted in today's retribution. Hua Taishu's name shook the entire city of ancient emperors, becoming a character on the same level as Qin Wenyan. The destruction of the sun-gold race lasted for a very long time in the city of ancient emperors. After that, the demonic beasts in the desolate 10,000 mountain range were no longer as violent and fearless as before. They were much more low-profile, no longer daring to kill human geniuses recklessly. Back then, Qin Wenyan defeated the demons of the desolate mountains. Today, Hua Taishu killed a king of the sun-gold race. This was like a wake-up call to the demons of the desolate mountains, warning them that Wuxiu was so powerful that they wouldn't be able to withstand his wrath. Back then, the myriad incarnations immortal king accepted Hua Taishu as her disciple. At that time, the myriad incarnations immortal king was a lofty beauty. He didn't expect that the myriad incarnations immortal king would actually fall in love with Hua Taishu and die in the city of ancient emperors. Her death clearly had a great impact on Hua Taishu. Today, on top of a gigantic boulder at the peak of an ancient mountain, two people sat facing each other, drinking wine and chatting. One of them, although his aura was retracted, his eyes were filled with spirit. This person was none other than Qin Wenyan. As for the other person, he was clad in white and had a very simple attire. His aura was extraordinary and his eyes were as deep as the abyss. He was actually an apostle of the Devil Mountain. Qin Wenyan, do you know that right now in the city of ancient emperors, many people are comparing you with Hua Taishu, treating you as someone on the same level? The apostle smiled. The two of them were like old friends, speaking casually. They could already be considered half-friends. During these years when Qin Wenyan was cultivating in the city of ancient emperors, the apostles of the Apostle Devil Hall would frequently come here to drink wine and chat with Qin Wenyan. They were already very familiar with each other. Hua Taishu annihilated the entire sun-gold demon race. Even if the people in the city of ancient emperors rank him above me, there's nothing strange about him being unrivaled in the city. Qin Wenyan smiled. He didn't really mind. All these were merely empty titles. What he needed was strength to deal with the impending calamity. You are too humble. If I didn't see wrongly, back then in that battle, you were only at the initial phase of the peak stage of the immortal king realm. Right now, you have already reached the late phase of the immortal king realm. The depth of your cultivation base is already incomparable to the past. If you return to that day, I'm afraid that the Sun Gold Demon race wouldn't even be able to withstand a single strike from you. If you acted personally, you would also be able to easily annihilate an entire race. The apostle smiled at Qin Wenyin. So what if that's the case? You should know how many major powers I've offended. Behind all of them are supreme powers with countless immortal emperors. As long as I exit the city of ancient emperors, my life would be in danger. Right now, aren't the people in the city of ancient emperors also guessing how long I have left? Qin Wendian laughed, as though he wasn't talking about himself. The calamity is decided by the heavens. If you could do it all over again and know that your identity would be exposed, would the number of people you offend be lesser compared to now? The apostle stared at Qin Wendian as he asked. I wouldn't. Qin Wendian shook his head. He didn't think too much. He had long thought of this problem. The Supreme Sword School, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Zi Daolong and the others had always wanted his life. Against them, even if he used his original identity as Qin Wendian, he would still show no mercy. The Yama Crown Prince of the Sanluo Immortal Empire wanted him to kneel and apologize, becoming his slave. One of them would die for sure. In addition, he still needed Emperor's fate. As for the experts from the 3 races of the Desolate Mountains, they bullied Qin and the Namhuang clan. There was no need to doubt that killing them would also mean that he and Jia Huangtian of the Forok race would die for sure. Everything, even if he did it all over again, there wouldn't be too many changes. Living in the immortal realms, there are many things you might not want to do, but you have no choice but to do it. It's just that with the identity of the Sabersword Immortal King, he could do things even more unscrupulously. The apostle laughed when he heard Qin Wentian's words. He lifted his wine cup and sipped on it. Hence, there's no need to think too much about many things. Just face him directly. If there comes a day when you have nowhere else to go, there's still a place where you can stay. Qin Wenyan stared at him and smiled. The Devil Mountain? The apostle nodded. You have obtained the inheritance of the myriad Devil Sovereign. Although your strength isn't strong enough to gain the recognition of the various Devil Halls, in addition to the fact that you are Wuxiu and not a Devil Cultivator, the various Devil Halls would naturally reject you. However, that inheritance is a symbol of your status, and from a certain perspective, you can already be considered the inheritor of the myriad Devil Sovereign. The Devil Halls wouldn't take the initiative to do anything for you, but if you ascend the Devil Mountain, at the very least, no one would dare to kill their way up. That's a good suggestion. Qin Wendian smiled. The myriad Devil Islands were a region where immortal emperors wouldn't dare to enter. Even if the era has changed, most probably, some major powers in the immortal realms still wouldn't dare to barge into the Devil Mountain. The apostle inclined his head and stared at the light cascading down from the sky. He smiled. Seems like you really don't intend to accept the inheritance of a Dao element. If I accept the inheritance of a Dao element, I would naturally be bound by it. Let alone the fact that even now, I still don't understand what the meaning of a Dao element is. If I accept it, what would the consequences be? Qin Wenyin inclined his head and calmly spoke. That's fine as well. The inheritance of the myriad Devil Sovereign of our myriad Devil Islands is already comparable to the inheritance of a Dao element. The apostle smiled at Qin Wenyin. Qin Wenyin smiled and nodded. The inheritance of the myriad Devil Sovereign was truly terrifying, able to subdue all devil cultivators. As for how strong it was exactly, he still didn't know. As for how strong the inheritance of a Dao element was, he also didn't know. Hence, it wasn't easy for him to make a comparison. Let's not talk about this anymore. Right now, your cultivation base is already here, and I believe you aren't far from the immortal Emperor realm. Have you comprehended anything? The apostle asked again. Qin Wendian shook his head. The immortal Emperor realm is ethereal. I'm afraid I won't be able to touch it so easily. It's not that difficult. After all, the immortal Emperor realm and immortal King realm belong to the same major realm. There's no qualitative change between them. Hence, it shouldn't be too difficult for you to break through. Given your talent, when your cultivation base reaches a certain level, success will follow naturally. The apostle seemed to be very confident in Qin Wenyin. From the celestial phenomenon realm to immortal foundation was a major realm. the essence of the cultivator would undergo a qualitative change, forming an immortal body of laws, forming a law domain. And from immortal king to immortal emperor, it was the same realm. As for immortal emperors, the strength of immortal emperors far surpassed that of immortal kings. Because emperors could shine together with constellations, absorbing the power of astral laws into their bodies. How powerful would they be? But even if one's strength underwent a qualitative change, their essence wouldn't change at all. It was only the quantity that changed. Let's hope so. Qin Wenyin inclined his head and stared at the air. The apostle stared at Qin Wenyin as he stood up and smiled. Everyone says that emperors are inferior to kings. In front of emperors, even the strongest kings would have to submit. Although they are on the same level, there's no way to surpass them. However, your combat prowess is unparalleled. I really want to see if you can slay emperors when you are at the immortal king realm. Immortal emperors can shine together with constellations. The amount of law energy they can use is incomparable to immortal kings. This breakthrough is no small matter. How difficult is it to slay emperors? Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at the apostle. It is difficult, but it doesn't mean that there's no hope. You yourself are the hope. The apostle laughed. After that, his silhouette flashed as he directly soared through the air. A carefree voice drifted over. In addition, since you already know the might of emperors, why don't you comprehend some unique and unparalleled techniques that can counter emperors? As the voice rang out, the apostle's silhouette vanished without a trace. Qin Wenyin stared at the disappearing silhouette. After that, he inclined his head and stared at the radiance of the Tao element that cascaded downwards. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he stepped into the air, allowing the boundless radiance of the Tao element to cascade down on him. He didn't accept the power of the Tao element, he didn't even cultivate it. He simply stood there quietly and sensed it. Below, Qing walked on the ancient mountain, arriving at the place where Qin Wenyan sat earlier. She inclined her head and stared at the silhouette in the air. At this moment, Qin Wenyan was so handsome, so dazzling. Even the radiance of the Tao element couldn't steal away the radiance that belonged to him. Today, the heavens bestowed a Tao element on you. In the future, you shall transform into it. Qing smiled as she murmured. Chapter 1519. Qin Wenyin silently cultivated in the city of ancient emperors. He had no idea what kind of commotion he caused exactly. Although everything happened in the city of ancient emperors, the connection between the city of ancient emperors and the outside world had never been severed. This was especially so after Qin Wentian's identity was exposed. How could his enemies spare him? Instantly, experts exited the city of ancient emperors and reported this matter upwards. Gradually, the news of what happened in the city of ancient emperors started to circulate through the immortal realms. Qin Wentian's name wasn't merely famous in the city of ancient emperors. In fact, in the immortal emperor-level dimension, great waves of commotion arose because of this matter. Many immortal emperors fought each other. Among them, the Chongqing the Great and the Emperor Qianbian were the first to suffer the most ferocious attacks. In the end, they were forced to leave the city of ancient emperors and return to the immortal realms. However, things didn't end because of this. A voice rang out in the immortal realms, saying that Qin Wenyan might continue to hide in the city of ancient emperors. If they wanted to kill Qin Wenyan, they could start from the immortal Qianbian Gate or the Evergreen Kingdom. But among them, the Evergreen Kingdom was the main target. Because the woman Qin Wenyan loved, Qin was the princess of this immortal empire. Because of this voice, the experts of the immortal Qianbian Gate dispersed. They gave up on the immortal Qianbian Gate and dismissed all their experts. This was something they had no choice but to do. If the other major powers really joined forces to attack the immortal Qianbian Gate, it would surely be a calamity. They could only temporarily disperse. Hence, the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures fell into an era where there was no ruler. Experts from the various major powers fought against each other, plundering cultivation resources. Coincidentally, the peak characters all headed to the city of ancient emperors, providing an opportunity for the weaker ones. However, Although the immortal Chenbian Gate could be disbanded, the Evergreen Kingdom was a major power with deep roots. How could it be disbanded so easily? Finally, the Evergreen Kingdom was besieged by experts from all directions. Many immortal emperors from the major powers descended, and the vanguards were none other than the peak powers of the eastern regions. How could the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Supreme Sword School, and Taihua Immortal Dynasty miss out on such a rare opportunity? They joined forces with those powers that hated Qin Wenin. The Sunluo Immortal Empire, the Nine Emperors Immortal State, as well as many immortal emperors from the three great demon races of the Desolate Mountains gathered in the Evergreen Kingdom. The Evergreen Kingdom commanded all their experts to return to protect their empire. The situation was extremely tense. And this was also because there were many immortal emperors in the city of ancient emperors who didn't come out, or the commotion would be even greater. But even so, just the siege alone was enough to cause the Evergreen Kingdom to face the threat of destruction. Finally, one day, the various major powers launched an attack on the Evergreen Kingdom, killing many experts from the Evergreen Kingdom and capturing a few important characters from the Evergreen Kingdom. Among them, Chongqing the Great's younger sister, Princess Chongping, and her husband, the Scarlet Eye Marquis, were among them. This was also the result of the various major powers showing mercy. Many powers in the eastern regions wanted the Evergreen Immortal Empire to vanish from this world, but there were many powers that only wanted Qin Wenin. Hence, they wanted to pressure the Evergreen Immortal Empire, forcing them to hand Evergreen Qing over. Who in the immortal realms didn't know that Evergreen Qing and Qin Wenin were in love? As long as they captured Evergreen Qing Wenin would never be able to escape. Right now, they wanted the Evergreen Kingdom to hand over Qin Wenin. However, how could the Chongqing the Great allow them to hand over the daughter he doted on the most? In fact, he didn't even send people to the city of ancient emperors to inform Qing heir, choosing to bear the responsibility alone. The Chongqing the Great would rather die in battle than implicate his daughter. However, with such a major event happening in the immortal realms, news of it would eventually spread to the city of ancient emperors. Although the Chongqing the Great didn't send anyone to inform Qing heir, as though he wanted to hide this from her, Qing heir eventually learned of this matter. Not only did Qing heir know of this, Jidi's followers and the experts from the Namhuang clan also learned of this matter. At this moment, they were all gathered together. Jidi's followers stared at Qing heir. Junior sister Qing heir, senior Chongqing the Great didn't allow anyone to inform you of this matter. You better not do anything foolish and walk right into their trap. My empire is in trouble and my father doesn't wish to implicate me. However, how can I allow my empire to be destroyed? Let alone the fact that my aunt has already been captured by them. Qing heir spoke in a light voice, her tone filled with sorrow. Back then, when Qin Wentian's identity was exposed, she already felt a sense of unease. However, she didn't expect that everything would happen so quickly. They didn't want to wait for Qin Wentian to leave and directly acted against the Evergreen Kingdom, wanting her to go to the Evergreen Kingdom and use her to threaten Qin Wentian. But Qing heir, you should know that the person they want isn't you. It's Qin Wentian. Even if you go, it's useless. They won't give up just like this. That's right, junior sister. You absolutely must not go. The people of Matriarch Ji's sect tried to persuade her. A trace of sorrow could be seen in Qing'er's eyes. She turned her head and stared at the space in the distance. Over there, boundless Tao element light cascaded downwards. That magnificent figure was sitting cross-legged there, cultivating. Qin Wentian has already been cultivating for many years. He seemed to be comprehending something and entered a state of oblivion. Staring at that figure, Qing heir's countenance broke out into a radiant smile. She had already become his woman in this lifetime and had no more regrets. She only hated the fact that she wouldn't be able to live to see the day when he transformed into a Tao element. As she smiled, a crystalline teardrop actually appeared at the corner of her eye. This scene caused the Jidi's followers to be deeply shaken. They glanced at each other and transmitted their voices. Junior sister, what's wrong? Her gaze seems to be saying goodbye. What does she want to do exactly? Senior sisters, can you promise Qing heir one thing? Qing heir stared at them. Ching Er, what is it? After I go out, don't tell him about this and don't disturb his cultivation. Just pretend that nothing has happened. If he asks about me, just tell him that I left the city of ancient emperors and returned to the immortal empire to take a look. Ching Er stared at her senior sisters as she spoke. No way. Ching Er, tell us. What do you want to do exactly? Everyone rejected him flatly. Senior sisters, just take it that Ching Er is begging you all. Ching Er stared at GD's followers as she seriously spoke. The hearts of GD's followers trembled as they stared at her beautiful countenance. Do you want to die in his place? So what if that's the case? Could it be that those people will continue to spare him? After he learns of this, do you think he won't go there? Immortal King Junyi spoke with some agitation. They could faintly sense that Ching Er had the will to die. If she went there now, it was very possible that she would lose her life. Senior sisters, you guys have no idea how difficult it was for him to reach where he is now. From the time he started cultivating in a particle world, I know all the things he has experienced. Right now, you guys have also seen his talent. Right now, he is unrivaled in the immortal king realm, and in the future, he will also be unrivaled in the immortal emperor realm. He is destined to stand at the peak of the immortal realms. I will deal with this calamity for him. Ching Er smiled. As for what you guys are worried about, I will make the necessary arrangements. If I die, I will get him to take revenge for me. The various powers will no longer be able to use me to threaten him. With hatred on his body and other worries, he won't die for nothing. If he is alive, he will be our hope. Ching Er understood Qin Wenyan too well. She knew that if she was alive, Qin Wenyan would definitely die for sure. If she died, she would get Qin Wenyan to take revenge for her. Qin Wenyan still had many worries in his heart. With Qingqing around, how could he die for nothing? All the women stared blankly at Qing. Normally, Qing rarely spoke and treated her words like gold. She had always been rather silent. Only now did they realize that Qing was actually so intelligent and sensitive. She seemed to have seen through everything, and it was even to the extent that she could see what would happen after her death. No! They shook their heads. Staring at the beautiful countenance before them, they had no way to accept this. No matter how outstanding Qin Wenyan's talent was, to them, the person closest to them was still Ching Er. They couldn't allow Ching Er to deal with the calamity in Qin Wenyan's place. They absolutely couldn't allow it. Senior sisters, listen to me one more time. Ching Er smiled as she stared at the maidens before her. In a gentle voice, she continued, I'm already his woman. His matters are my matters. This is something very normal. If he dies, I will accompany him. If I die, he will avenge me. Do you all wish to see the two of us die together? Or are you all willing to help Ching Er preserve the life of the person she loves the most? The hearts of all the maidens pounded violently. They stared dumbfoundedly at Qing, and when they saw that Qing was still smiling at them, they couldn't calm down in their hearts. They were all convinced by Qing. Since Qing said such words, what else could they say? Senior sister, I will stay here for one more day. You all can send me out tomorrow. Qing Er smiled. After that, she turned and walked to the gigantic stone and sat down. Inclining her head, she stared at Qin Wenyan, who was cultivating in the air. He was so serene, so handsome. She quietly sat there, her beautiful eyes unmoving. As she stared at him, she thought back to all the bits and pieces of their relationship. She thought back to the 30 years they spent together, witnessing all the sceneries under the heavens. She still thought back to the first time they met. Back then she was beside her master, Fairy Qingmei. At that time, there was a hint of astonishment in his eyes. After that, Fairy Qingmei told her to protect him, and this protection lasted for many years. She thought back to the time when he dragged his sword for Mo Qingqing, slaughtering his way into the Pill Emperor Hall. For love, he didn't hesitate to die. She thought back to the first time she revealed her feelings. She thought back to many, many things. As she thought, tears flowed out of her beautiful eyes as she stared at that silhouette. However, she was still smiling, and her smile was extremely beautiful. This life of hers was very beautiful. If she could die for him, wouldn't that be the best ending? She was willing to die for him. In this life, there were no more regrets. Yet there was still the greatest regret. If there was a next life, she was still willing to be his wife. But in her next life, she definitely wouldn't have to suffer so much. They should have known each other earlier, told him earlier that she liked him, and married earlier. Let everyone in the world envy them. Chapter 15:20. Qing'er left silently. Just like what she said, no one informed Qin Wenyan, who was in the midst of his cultivation. Qin Wenyan was still in the midst of his cultivation. He had no idea what was happening in the outside world. At this moment, below his cultivation ground, a maiden quietly stood there. She had a beautiful countenance and a noble aura. This maiden wasn't Qing'er, but was Namhuang Yunxi instead. She knew that Qing'er had left, and she also knew the reason why Qing'er left. As a woman, she naturally could understand Qing'er's thoughts. Her heart was filled with warmth. No wonder Qin Wenyan loved her so deeply. Their love had already transcended life itself. Namhuang Yunxi's beautiful eyes were sparkling with tears. She stared at the figure in the air, and in the end, she didn't say anything. She quietly turned and left. Maybe it was because she respected Qing'er's choice, or maybe it was because she didn't want the person who died to be Qin Wenyan. If one day he knew the truth, what would he do? Qin Wenyan was still in a state of selflessness. He sensed the power of the Tao element, but he didn't accept the inheritance. He only silently comprehended. He comprehended from the Tao element of space, from the Tao element of the world, and cultivated in his dreamscape, perfecting his own strength. In his dreamscape, Qin Wenyan stood in an illusory world. His 7 astral souls were released, transforming into a perfect constellation. A supreme figure stood in the air, surrounded by a river of swords. Boundless sword law energy flowed within, and even the other law energies seemed to have fused into it, existing in the form of sword intent. As Qin Wenyan willed it, the sword river churned intensely. The sword intent soared through the air, killing their way forward. The heavens and earth rumbled as sword chi gushed forth, containing a heaven-shaking might that could suppress and destroy everything. It was as though the law energy of various attributes was infused into the sword. Each of the sword intent was like a sword river, a sword formation, capable of destroying all existences. Their attacks were extremely powerful. Qin Wenyan waved his hand as the constellation formed from his astral soul dissipated. It continued to transforming into another constellation that was still in the form of a human. Numerous godlike silhouettes descended from the sky. All of them were golden in color. After that, they turned devilized, transforming into bodies of darkness that not only surrounded Qin Wenyan, but also expanded outwards. In an instant, the devil king behind Qin Wenyan was in the center, resembling a supreme devil lord. "Go!" Qin Wenyan spoke. In an instant, numerous devils blasted out their attacks, transforming into devil hands that soared through the air, wanting to engulf the heavens and earth. In just an instant, the devil hands blotted out the sun and the sky. Even now, I still can't comprehend the profoundness of astral radiance. I wonder what level my attacks have reached. Qin Wenyan mused. He continued to comprehend and cultivate, perfecting his own strength. In the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, Qing'er has returned. She first returned to GD's cultivation mountain before heading to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. If she directly entered the royal palace from the outer perimeter, she would have been captured before she could even enter. Right now, the entire royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom was surrounded. The moment Qing'er returned to the royal palace, Chongqing the Great directly descended and brought her into the imperial palace, isolating the space between them. He angrily scolded Qing. "Who allowed you to come back?" Qing'er had never seen her evergreen immortal emperor treating her like this before. This was the first time. She could see the evergreen immortal emperor furrowing his brows in anger. However, Qing'er didn't blame her father for treating her like this. She merely lowered her head and didn't say anything. "Leave immediately. Go back." Chongqing the Great said angrily. Qing'er shook her head and said, "Since I'm back, I won't leave." Chongqing the Great's expression became even more unsightly. He stared at his most beloved daughter, wanting to lose his temper, but he didn't know what to say. Finally, he said, "What about him? Did he let you come back alone?" "He doesn't know. I didn't tell him. All these years, he has been in closed-door cultivation. No one disturbed him, and I didn't let anyone disturb him." Qing raised her head. Her beautiful eyes were filled with stubbornness as she looked at her father. "I've really given birth to a good daughter." Chongqing the Great said angrily, "Are you trying to exchange your life for his? Have you thought about me, about the Evergreen Kingdom?" Chongqing the Great was a man of character. He instantly understood Qing's thoughts. She didn't tell Qin Wenyan. What did she mean by coming back alone? Was there a need to ask? He could guess it even with his eyes closed. "It's precisely because I've thought about father, about the Evergreen Kingdom, that I came back." Qing inclined her head and looked at Chongqing the Great seriously. She was still stubborn as she spoke. "The Evergreen Kingdom is in danger. As your daughter, Chongqing the Great's daughter, I have a responsibility to bear it. Even if I have to die, I don't mind. This is what I should do. However, he cannot die. I will bear everything for him." Chongqing the Great looked at his beloved daughter and sighed in his heart. What was love in this world? That's right. You're willing to give up your life, but you don't want to implicate him. Even if the Evergreen Kingdom is destroyed because of this, you still want him to live. Am I right? Chongqing the Great sighed. Qing's eyes reddened as guilt flashed in her eyes. However, she still nodded her head resolutely. "I'm willing to bear the danger of the Evergreen Kingdom. I won't regret it even if I die. Father, if I die, you have to live well." "What qualifications does he have to make my daughter do this?" Chongqing the Great felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. No matter how outstanding that young man was, in his heart, he couldn't be compared to his daughter. She was the daughter he doted on the most. And now, his daughter wanted to use her life to replace him. "Because he is the man I love, because he is the son-in-law of the Evergreen Kingdom, and because father personally decreed this marriage." Qing smiled. Chongqing the Great turned and stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were closed. It was unknown what he was thinking in his heart. "Father, don't think of sending me away. Even if you want to forcefully send me away, don't even think about it. If the Evergreen Kingdom is destroyed, Qing will be the sinner and I will have to bear the consequences." Qing seemed to have guessed what Chongqing the Great was thinking about as she decisively spoke. Chongqing the Great remained unmoved. His eyes were still closed, but he understood that his daughter's heart was already set. There was no way he could change her mind. "Hand me over, father." Qing spoke in a light voice. "After that, you will commit suicide, ending all your troubles once and for all. Do you want to stop them from using you as a threat to send him to his death?" Chongqing the Great opened his eyes and laughed. "Qing, you are so naive. Your daughter is unfilial." Qing lowered her head. "You are indeed unfilial." Chongqing the Great turned his head and stared at Qing. "But even if you are unfilial, you are still my daughter, the daughter of Chongqing. Even if you are unfilial, I will never hand you over. Even if I die, I will die in battle." "Father." Qing had a pleading look on her face. Chongqing the Great turned and waved his palms. An instant later, an indomitable force gushed into Qing's body, restraining her strength. He then spoke, "Men." As the sound of his voice faded, two serving girls walked over. "Take good care of her, don't leave her side." Chongqing the Great spoke. After that, he flicked his sleeves and departed. Stared at the back of her father as tears flowed down her face once more. Even if she was unfilial, she was still the daughter of Chongqing the Great. Even if she died, she would die in battle. In the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, in a certain palace, many experts were gathered here. All of them were Empyreans from the various major powers. Each of them exuded a terrifying aura. There's a commotion in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. It might be that the daughter of Chongqing the Great, Qing, has returned. At this moment, someone spoke, his words causing the eyes of everyone to flash. "Are you sure?" We will know once we prepare to launch an attack. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor suggested, his tone extremely domineering. The major powers of the eastern regions were the ones who wanted to start a war the most, wanting to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom. Hence, he personally came here. But as he spoke, his expression suddenly changed, becoming extremely unsightly to behold. One could even say that he had turned ashen. Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, what's wrong? Someone glanced at him as they asked. Chongqing has gone mad. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke in rage. He stood up as his aura surged wildly, gushing forth. What happened exactly? The Paragon Sword Emperor asked. The White Emperor is currently in the royal palace of my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke with an ashen expression, his countenance cold to the extreme. The mysterious White Emperor actually left the Evergreen Kingdom Palace? Is he staking everything on a single throw? However, Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom at the very least has a defensive force, right? Why would you fear a mere White Emperor? The Paragon Sword Emperor spoke. The White Emperor is now a peak stage Immortal Emperor. The words of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. If the White Emperor was a peak stage Immortal Emperor, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom might not be able to withstand such a blow. The Evergreen Kingdom was truly staking everything on a single throw, actually sending a peak stage Immortal Emperor out to attack the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. At this instant, the expressions of the Paragon Sword Emperor and the Taihua Immortal Lord grew extremely unsightly. They were all located in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms. If the White Emperor wanted to attack them, they would definitely be the first targets of revenge. The White Emperor stepping into the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm would undoubtedly be a calamity to them. What should we do? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor stared at the people in the surroundings. The Immortal Emperors of the Nine Emperors Immortal State and Sunluo Immortal Empire glanced at him. Seems like the strength of some of the major powers in the eastern regions was limited. They actually couldn't defend their immortal empires and were attacked. At this moment, a powerful strand of immortal sense shot over, causing everyone to raise their heads. They could all sense the existence of that strand of immortal sense. It's Chongqing. Chongqing, tell the White Emperor to stop. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor roared in rage. Do you all know fear now? When you attacked my Evergreen Kingdom Palace, didn't you feel very happy? I'm warning everyone here, if you all dare to act against my Evergreen Kingdom again, I will fight to the death. You all better kill me or I will leave with the White Emperor to take revenge on all of you. I hope that you all can endure such revenge and stay together. I also hope that you all will be able to protect your people. The Chongqing the Great's cold voice rang out, containing no emotions at all. He directly started to threaten the Immortal Emperors. Since things have come to this, he had no more reservations. Chapter 1521. The expressions of the Immortal Emperors changed. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor then spoke. Evergreen, I will retreat from the battlefield now and leave the territory of the Evergreen Kingdom. Tell the White Emperor to stop. The White Emperor had already stepped into the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. No one in the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom would be able to stop him. This battle would definitely cause the entire Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to decline. Why did he want to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom? It was merely for benefits, to strengthen himself. If the foundation of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was destroyed, even if the Evergreen Kingdom was destroyed, his Tenlon Heaven Kingdom wouldn't be the one laughing in the end. Although the various major powers had formed an alliance now, the Immortal Realms were about to descend into chaos. As long as the Evergreen Immortal Empire was destroyed, the various major powers would instantly start scheming against each other and the alliance would instantly crumble. And if the Sky Mist Immortal Empire fell, the next one to be destroyed would be his Sky Mist Immortal Empire. Now that I have retreated, tell the White Emperor to stop. Are you planning to make a comeback after you reorganize your forces? The Chongqing the Great coldly spoke. Everything is already destined. Since you want to destroy my Evergreen Kingdom, I won't rest until one of us dies. In addition, I will get the White Emperor to capture your kin. If anything happens to the hostages of my evergreen kingdom, let them be buried together with you." As the sound of his voice faded, the immortal sense of the evergreen kingdom faded away. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was enraged as their auras towered up into the sky. The others glanced at each other in dismay. This time around, the evergreen immortal emperor was forced into a corner. Seems like there was no need to try anymore. His daughter, Evergreen Qing, must have returned to the evergreen immortal empire and was prepared to send herself to her death. However, the evergreen immortal emperor might have forcefully held her back and was prepared to pay any price to start a war. This point could be seen from the fact that the evergreen immortal emperor was willing to risk his life for the Skymist immortal empire. Everyone, immediately attack the Evergreen Kingdom Palace and capture the daughter of Evergreen Qing heir. We will destroy Evergreen and prevent any future troubles. At the same time, use Evergreen Qing heir to threaten Qin Wenyan to come here. The Skymist immortal emperor spoke to everyone. However, everyone had looks of contemplation on their faces, none of them replied. This caused the heart of the Skymist immortal emperor to sink. Why is everyone not saying anything? The Changqing the Great has already decided to fight to the death. You should have heard his words earlier as well. If we don't kill him, he and the White Emperor would join forces to take revenge on us. Our descendants would all face the threat of death. In order to ensure our safety, we have to rearrange our arrangements and allow the immortal emperors in the city of ancient emperors to return. We should prepare to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom in one fell swoop and capture the Changqing the Great, forcing the White Emperor to reveal himself and kill him as well. If not, there would only be endless troubles in the future. An immortal emperor spoke. That's right. The Changqing the Great has already gone mad. There's no need for us to accompany him. Everyone, make your preparations. We have to kill Qin Wenyan, but we can't leave any future troubles behind. Who would have thought that Evergreen King would be so crazy for a daughter? Could it be that he wouldn't hand Qin Wenyan over? Another immortal emperor coldly spoke. Their goals were different from the Skymist immortal emperor. They only wanted Qin Wenyan's life. At the same time, if they didn't have the confidence to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, it was best for them not to offend the Evergreen Kingdom. Everyone had their own ulterior motives, plotting their own schemes. Maybe Qin Wenyan still doesn't know about this. I will send people to the city of ancient emperors to take a look. If Qin Wenyan doesn't know about this, I will send someone to inform him that the Evergreen Kingdom is already under siege. Evergreen Qing heir might die at any moment. I don't believe that he won't come. If he doesn't come, I will inform Evergreen of this matter. I believe that even Evergreen King wouldn't fight for such a son-in-law. That's right. I will bid my farewell first. Everyone, please contact me and make your preparations. The Paragon Sword Emperor stepped out. With a flash of his silhouette, he transformed into a beam of resplendent sword light and sped away. The Taihua Immortal Dynasty Lord also bid his farewell and sped away, seemingly in a hurry. Everyone naturally understood what they were worried about. They and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom were both located in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms. If the White Emperor could slaughter his way into the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, he could similarly slaughter his way into their territory. Bastard. The Skymist Immortal Emperor cursed in his heart as his eyes turned red. Nobody listened to his suggestion to immediately attack the Evergreen Kingdom. Everyone had their own worries and plans. If he was the one to attack, most probably, the others would be more than happy to do so. It would be best if both the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom were destroyed together. Several days later, an earthquake rocked the eastern regions, attracting the attention of the entire Immortal Realms. The White Emperor broke through to the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, a peak power of the eastern regions, suffered a calamity in a single day. The royal capital of the empire was razed to flat ground, and countless people died. It was unknown how many experts were killed, and even immortal emperors died. The unexcelled Tenlon Heaven Kingdom fell apart in a single day, leaving behind only the experts who were tempering themselves outside, the Skymist Immortal Emperor, and a few other immortal emperors who managed to escape. When this news circulated out, countless people were shocked. This was the rage of the Evergreen Kingdom. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom allied with the other peak powers to besiege the Evergreen Kingdom and suffered the strongest retaliation. However, after that, the White Emperor disappeared again and didn't do anything. From this point, it was very easy to guess his purpose. With the White Emperor in the shadows, the Supreme Sword School, Taihua Immortal Dynasty and the other peak powers would feel trepidation and wouldn't dare to attack the Evergreen Kingdom. On the other hand, if the White Emperor killed his way over, the other peak powers would most probably join forces with the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and attack the Evergreen Kingdom at all costs. What made people bewildered was that the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor didn't make a move, he didn't go over to take revenge. This caused everyone to sigh in admiration. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was truly patient, they could even endure this. However, they also understood that the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor had no choice but to do so. If he was swayed by hatred and disregarded everything and used the remaining strength of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to fight against the Chongqing the Great, the ones laughing would definitely be the other peak powers. At the same time, the city of ancient emperors also became lively. The immortal emperors of the various peak powers all received the news from the eastern regions. Many immortal emperors left the city of ancient emperors, especially those who wanted to destroy Qin Wenin. For example, the Sunluo Immortal Empire, the Forok race, and the other peak powers were all preparing to end this matter once and for all. As for those experts who were close to Qin Wenin and the Evergreen Kingdom, they were also paying close attention to this matter. They left the city of ancient emperors and headed to the eastern regions. This time around, the eastern regions started to gather. Such a major event caused the entire immortal realms to shake. In the dimension where the immortal kings of the city of ancient emperors were at, the news also started to circulate. Only Qin Wenin was still cultivating and didn't know about this. At this moment, at the ancient peak where Qin Wenin was at, Jun Mingchen and the others stood below. They stared at Qin Wentian's silhouette with hesitation and a struggle in their hearts. They were contemplating if they should inform Qin Wentian of this matter or not. If they told him about this, it was unknown how many immortal emperors of the various peak powers would gather. If Qin Wentian went out, he would simply be courting death. Qin Wentian. At this moment, a figure flew over from afar. He stood arrogantly in the air and shouted at Qin Wenin, who was in the midst of cultivation. The space trembled as the intense fluctuations jolted Qin Wenin awake. He opened his eyes as a cold light gleamed within. He stared at the person who spoke as a cold light flashed in his eyes. In the city of ancient emperors, there was actually someone who dared to interrupt his cultivation. Qin Wenin, the Evergreen Kingdom is facing a calamity because of you. Your fiancé, Evergreen Qing'a, went there in your stead, attempting to die in your place. Yet you are actually still quietly cultivating here. I'm truly impressed. That person laughed as he stared at Qin Wenin. His words caused Qin Wentian's eyes to gleam with a dazzling light. His body was like a bolt of lightning as he lunged out. That person retreated explosively, but with just a single glance from Qin Wentian, that person was already trapped within. Boom! A gigantic hand directly grabbed him, causing his face to instantly turn red. Qin Wentian, I came here to inform you out of goodwill. What do you mean by this? That person roared in rage. Qin Wentian's expression was cold to the extreme. Speak clearly. Don't you know? Right now, the entire immortal realms are in an uproar. This is especially so for the eastern regions. The various peak powers have surrounded the Evergreen Kingdom and even surrounded the royal palace, wanting the Evergreen Kingdom to hand over Evergreen Qing'a. You should be clearer than anyone else who their target is. Right now, the immortal emperors from the city of ancient emperors have all gone to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Evergreen Qing'a actually didn't inform you of this matter because she wanted to protect you. She is truly infatuated. That person slowly spoke. GD's followers, the Namhuang clan, Jun Mingchen and the others were all here. Their expressions were extremely unsightly to behold. In the end, they couldn't hide it any longer. They actually specially came here to inform Qin Wentian. Their purpose was obvious. They wanted Qin Wentian to go there. Qin Wendian turned his head, staring at Jun Mingchen. Jun Mingchen lowered his head in silence. Yunqi. Qin Wendian saw Jun Mingchen lowering his head and glancing at Nam Huang Yunqi. Nam Huang Yunqi bit her lips lightly, not saying anything. Qin Wendian's heart instantly became as clear as a mirror. He knew that he was the only one who didn't know. You guys are so muddle-headed. You actually hid this from me. Qin Wendian let out a low-sounding roar. He instantly understood what was going on. Qing'er doesn't wish for you to send yourself to death. Hence, she instructed everyone not to tell you about this. Her purpose is to protect you. Nam Huang Yunqi spoke to Qin Wendian, as though she still hoped that Qin Wendian wouldn't go. She knew that the moment Qin Wendian went there, the Evergreen Kingdom wouldn't become the target of everyone. However, Qin Wendian would definitely die. This was a dead end, waiting for Qin Wendian to walk there himself. Qing, silly lass. A peerless countenance appeared in Qin Wendian's mind. His heart ached as he spoke. Could it be that she doesn't know that as long as she is here, I will definitely head there? How could she not know? In that case, she basically doesn't intend to live. She is going there to die. The hearts of everyone trembled. The people under GD's sect all sighed. The relationship between these two was truly deep. They could instantly guess each other's thoughts. Qin Wendian instantly understood that Qing'er was going there to seek death. Qin Wendian, before junior apprentice Sister Qing'er left, she instructed us not to tell you about this. She said that if you die, she wouldn't be able to live on alone. Since that's the case, why don't she go there in your place? She asked us if we wish to see the two of you die together, or if we are willing to protect the life of the man she loves and avenge her in the future. Immortal King Junyi stared at Qin Wendian as she spoke. Qin Wendian's heart ached even more. Qin Wendian was filled with grief. With a loud roar, 10,000 swords shot out. The countenance of the person he killed drastically changed as his body was directly torn apart. Kill. Chapter 1522. The people below all sighed in their hearts when they saw this scene. In the end, Qin Wendian still found out. That person who came to make the report clearly wanted to tell Qin Wendian about this so that he could send Qin Wendian to his death. However, wasn't this fellow a little too foolish? Under Qin Wendian's rage, how could he spare him? I want to go out. Qin Wendian's robes fluttered in the wind as he slowly spoke. You want to go out and die? Nam Huang Yunqi's silhouette flashed as she appeared in the air. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wendian as she spoke in a loud voice. Don't you understand Qing's painstaking efforts? If you go out now, what's the difference between that and courting death? Have you forgotten what immortal King Junyi said earlier? If you die, Qing'er won't be able to continue living alone. Qin Wendian's body trembled as he stared at Nam Huang Yunqi. He naturally understood that Nam Huang Yunqi didn't want anything to happen to him. From the news I received, junior apprentice Sister Qing'er went there with the heart to die. However, after Changqing the Great learned of this, he immediately placed her under house arrest. Regardless of Senior Changqing the Great or Qing'er, none of them came to inform you. Clearly, they don't want you to die. GD's followers spoke. Wendian Gij. Bai Qing also walked over, her sparkling eyes staring at Qin Wendian. None of them wished for Qin Wendian to die. Senior brother. Jun Mingchen also spoke. Qin Wendian slowly turned his gaze over, staring at everyone as he sighed in his heart. There's no need for you all to persuade me. Qing'er went there for me. Do you want me to hide in the city of ancient emperors and watch Qing'er face the calamity for me? Qin Wendian smiled, but his smile was filled with desolation. I've made up my mind. Qin Wendian's voice was resolute. Everyone sighed. Qin Wendian, I won't stop you from heading there. But if you head there now, what's the difference between that and courting death? At the very least, you have to fight for a chance of survival. In addition, the White Emperor has already broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm and destroyed the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, causing the major powers of the eastern regions to hesitate in their actions. In addition, the Changqing the Great once declared that if the Evergreen Kingdom is destroyed and he survives, he would follow the White Emperor to seek revenge. I'm sure that at this time, the major powers would feel some trepidation. Nam Huang Yunshi continued, hence, many powers don't really want to start a war with the Evergreen Kingdom. They only want your life. As long as you say that you will head there, the prerequisite is that they don't attack the Evergreen Kingdom. If not, you will never appear. In this case, those major powers wouldn't attack the Evergreen Kingdom before you appear. And during this period of time, why can't you fight for it? The holy maidens of the Nam Huang clan stared at Nam Huang Yunshi in bewilderment. Her words seemed to have been planned out long ago. Most probably, she was worried that Qin Wenyan would send himself to his death if he knew about this. Yunshi, you are right. It's just that, fight for it? How can we fight for it? This calamity is already incomparable to the adjudication battle in the eastern regions of the immortal realms. It's much more dangerous, and the immortal Qinbian Gate basically has no way to resist it. The Nam Huang clan, senior GD, and the other major powers wouldn't be able to participate. Qin Wenyan sighed silently. In such a perilous situation, who would be willing to participate for him, Qin Wenyan? At the very least, the him now didn't have such rallying power. If we don't fight for it, how would we know? I will head to the Nam Huang clan and inquire about the Nam Huang clan's attitude. Nam Huang Yunshi spoke. She also knew that the chances were slim, but she still wanted to give it a try. Junior apprentice sister Qin, is our junior apprentice sister, a disciple doted on by Master. We will also seek an audience with Master and inquire about Master's attitude. An expert from GD's sect spoke. For this battle, even if they were immortal kings, they had no way to participate. This was an emperor-ranked battle, and only immortal emperors had the qualifications to participate. Senior brother, the strength of the heavenly talisman realm is unfathomably deep. We can give it a try. Jun Mengchen transmitted his voice to Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan's heart trembled slightly, but he didn't have too much hope. When he joined the heavenly talisman realm, they already had an agreement. The heavenly talisman realm wouldn't force him to do anything, but they wouldn't expose themselves because of him. He had no way to know the purpose of the heavenly talisman realm's existence, but at the very least, he didn't have the ability to make the entire heavenly talisman realm act for him. Wenyan Gij, I will go to the Judiciary Devil Hall and ask for reinforcements for you. Also, Bujia will definitely come. Bai Qing spoke in a low voice. I will go to the desolate mountains to meet with that old fellow. Little Rascal's voice was as immature as ever, but he was very serious. The old fellow he was referring to was naturally that supremely powerful demon Emperor Heaven-devouring beast. Qin Wenyan glanced at his companions as warmth flowed in his heart. Unknowingly, everyone was already immortal kings. If it wasn't for the fact that they were from peak powers, they would be able to handle things independently. Qin Wenyan, just give it a try. At the very least, there's a sliver of hope. If you don't try, it would only be a path of death. Nam Huang Yunshi's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wenyan. Upon seeing her gaze, Qin Wenyan solemnly nodded his head. Okay, I will give myself 3 more months of time. You guys think of a way to help me pass my message to the Evergreen Kingdom. 3 months later, I will head to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to settle my grudge. During these 3 months, if the Evergreen Kingdom is attacked, I will never appear again. Nam Huang Yunshi silently heaved a sigh of relief. She also knew that the chances were slim, but at the very least, she had to fight for it. 3 months later, I will meet you all at the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Wenyan Gij. Bai Qing clenched her fists tightly. After that, she turned and left, preparing to use her fastest speed to rush to the Devil Mountain. Senior brother, I will go to the Heavenly Talisman realm to look for my guide brother. Jun Mengchen transmitted his voice and left. Everyone left one after another. However, they didn't abandon Qin Wenyan. Rather, they wanted to fight for a chance of survival for Qin Wenyan. Young master, is there a chance for him to break through to the immortal emperor realm? The experts from the Battle Saint tribe were still around. Qi Yu stared at Qin Wenyan in the air. If Qin Wenyan broke through to the immortal emperor realm, he would have a chance to enter the highest level of the 3 worlds and obtain the help of immortal emperors from the Battle Saint tribe. How can it be so easy to break through to the immortal emperor realm? Qin Wendian sighed. He clenched his fists tightly as an intense killing intent flashed in his eyes. The cause of this calamity was all because of a voice from a peak character who exposed his identity. If not, after the city of ancient emperors, the disappearance of the saber-sword immortal king, there wouldn't be such a calamity, causing such a huge commotion. That person who exposed his identity was someone with evil intentions. Not only could he die, he even caused such a huge commotion in the immortal realms. Who was it exactly that managed to guess his identity? If he knew who it was, he would definitely make that person die without a burial ground. Inclining his head, Qin Wendian's resplendent eyes flickered with a terrifying coldness. Qin went out to face the calamity for him. Luckily, the Chongqing the Great was decisive and doted on Qin, imprisoning her and even waging war against her. At this moment, the clouds in the sky churned as a terrifying aura bore down. Within the churning clouds, bolts of lightning flashed as a terrifying scene appeared. Qin Wendian, come up here. A voice drifted over. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed as he turned his gaze over. After that, he saw an incomparably gigantic black dragon coiling in the air. With a flash of his silhouette, Qin Wendian soared up into the clouds, entering the tempest. He stared at the gigantic black dragon before him as he asked, "Senior, do you have any instructions for me? Are you willing to follow me?" The black dragon spoke to Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian frowned as he asked, "That palace. You are now qualified to obtain the scepter. I'll bestow it to you." The black dragon spoke, his words causing Qin Wendian's eyes to flicker. "Senior, didn't you say that the rules in the city of ancient emperors have changed and there's a need for a competition?" "That's right. During these years, I've been observing the city of ancient emperors. You truly didn't disappoint me and can be considered to have passed the test. Hence, I'll allow you to obtain the scepter." The black dragon spoke. "As long as you obtain the scepter, even if many people in the immortal realms want to kill you, they wouldn't be able to do so. As long as you are in the city of ancient emperors, no one would be able to kill you. I can protect you from death. What if I exit the city of ancient emperors?" Qin Wendian asked. "Outside the city of ancient emperors, I won't interfere." The black dragon replied. "Senior, this junior is willing to give up on the scepter inheritance." Qin Wendian spoke. The black dragon's eyes gleamed with coldness as it spoke. "Do you know what this scepter represents?" "Junior is ignorant. I have no idea. It's just that Junior will soon face a calamity and might not be able to survive. If that's the case, wouldn't I have let down Senior's good intentions and lose the scepter?" Qin Wendian calmly spoke. The black dragon snorted coldly. "This immortal realms is a world of cultivation. If you can stand at the peak one day, you would be able to have all the beauties in the world. You actually want to give up the scepter for such a minor matter? Do you know what the changes in the rules of the city of ancient emperors mean? Do you know what the Tao elements from the heavens signify? What does the scepter inheritance signify?" "Junior doesn't know," Qin Wendian replied. "Among the 33 immortal realms, the Tao elements originate from the immortal realms of the upper world. They are the hegemonic powers that rely on the Tao elements to select their disciples. Once one has comprehended the Tao element, they would be bound by the restrictions and wouldn't be able to leave the immortal realms. Only by defeating all the competitors in the city of ancient emperors would one be able to gain the recognition of the Tao element. At that time, the victor would be able to enter the city of ancient emperors and ascend to the upper world. There's no need for them to experience the tribulations of life and death. If not, why do you think so many legendary characters and ancient emperors would come to the city of ancient emperors?" The black dragon stared at Qin Wendian as he spoke in a loud voice. Qin Wendian's heart trembled. He didn't expect the origin of the Tao element to be so great. This was the true secret of the city of ancient emperors. You didn't accept the Tao element's inheritance. Just as well, as long as you inherit the scepter, it means that you don't need to contend against others for the Tao element's inheritance. You can directly obtain the opportunity to cross the immortal realms. As for what happens after that, I temporarily won't tell you. In that case, do you want it or not? The black dragon stared at Qin Wenyin. Qin Wenyin stared at the demonic eyes as calm as ever. He replied, Junior knows that there's going to be a death tribulation soon and I don't dare to delay the inheritance. I can only let Senior down. You don't know what's good for you. The black dragon roared in rage. A terrifying aura gushed forth as bolts of lightning crackled around Qin Wenyin. It felt like as long as he willed it, he would be able to kill Qin Wenyin here. I truly want to see how big of a wave you can stir if you don't accept the inheritance. The black dragon roared. After that, he soared into the air as the violent aura in the air gradually calmed down. Qin Wenyin was incomparably calm. He had once wanted to take the scepter, but it was the black dragon who changed his mind. He had already made up his mind to give up on this inheritance. Let alone now, all his attention was on Qin. He wouldn't care about this inheritance that might restrict him. Chapter 1523. After the black dragon left, Qin Wenyin descended and sat cross-legged on a gigantic boulder on the ancient mountain. He didn't cultivate any other energy and didn't attempt to break through to the immortal emperor realm. This wasn't something that could be accomplished in a day and night. It required time and opportunity. Right now, Qin Wenyin was comprehending the undying scripture. This crisis was extremely dangerous. Although his friends were all willing to help him, Qin Wenyin himself didn't have too much hope. Outside the city of ancient emperors, in the immortal realms, Qin Wentian's words soon spread to the Evergreen Kingdom, causing a huge commotion. Qing Wu was in her princess residence, sobbing uncontrollably. Did he still find out in the end? After that, another voice rang out. The reason why Qin Wenyin agreed to come to the Evergreen Kingdom 3 months later was because his friends went there to search for helpers for him. Among them were Jidi's followers, the holy maiden of the Namhuang clan, the priestess of the Judiciary Devil Hall, Bujie of the myriad ancient Devil Hall, as well as Jun Mingchen of the immortal Qiandian Gate. During these 3 months, they wanted to fight for Qin Wenyin. This caused many people to sigh in their hearts. Qin Wenyin had enemies all over the world and had offended countless people. They didn't expect that his friends would be so loyal. Under such a situation, they still wanted to protect him. However, could they reverse the situation? It was impossible. More and more immortal emperors stepped out from the city of ancient emperors. The immortal emperors from the various major powers all gathered in the eastern regions of the immortal realms, the Evergreen Kingdom. Other than the Supreme Sword School, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, Zidi, and the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor, the Sunluo Immortal Empire, 9 Emperors Immortal State, and the Sacred Sun Sect, all of them wanted to kill Qin Wenyin. However, this wasn't enough. There were also supreme demonic races like the Forok race, Heavenhold race, Void Beast race, White Tiger people. With such a lineup, no one believed that Qin Wenyin would be able to survive. This was a death calamity. There was no doubt that they would die. There was no way to turn back. Compared to the emperor-ranked battle in the past before the adjudication battle, the strength of this army was a level higher. With such a lineup, most probably the Southern Phoenix clan, Matriarch Ji and the others wouldn't dare to stand out anymore. Everyone sighed in their hearts. This Qin Wenyin, what calamity had he provoked exactly? However, as an immortal king, being able to cause such a storm in the immortal realms, it was already something to be proud of. Sadly, if he died, everything would be destroyed, he wouldn't be able to rise up again. In the Heavenly Talisman realm, Jun Mingchen stood together with an old man. This old man exuded an extraordinary aura and was an immortal emperor expert. He was none other than the senior brother that guided Jun Mingchen here. Beside them, Bai Wuya was also here. Up ahead, a figure walked over, appearing before Jun Mingchen and the others. Jun Mingchen, I already know the purpose of your visit. It's just that you should have heard about the current situation in the Evergreen Kingdom. Almost half of the peak powers in the immortal realms have arrived and the majority of them want Qin Wenyin to die. This time around, he has offended too many people and shouldn't send himself to his death. The person before them spoke. He was the supervisory general of the Heavenly Talisman realm. He was in charge of all matters in the Heavenly Talisman realm. Senior brother Qin is a sentimental person. He would definitely head there, there's no way to stop him. Our heavenly talisman realm has as many experts as the clouds, and I'm sure there would be many immortal emperors, right? Can we help senior brother Qin out? Jun Mingchen spoke. Qin Wentian's talent is extraordinary. You most probably don't know this, but the heavenly talisman realm has always been paying close attention to him. Many things are planned with him at the center, hoping that he would be able to ascend to the peak one day. However, this time around, he was still too impulsive. The heavenly talisman realm isn't prepared yet. Even though they have many experts, once they are exposed, they might face the wrath of the entire immortal realms. Those peak powers wouldn't allow a power like the heavenly talisman realm to threaten them. The supervisory general stared at Jun Mingchen. Tell Qin Wentian not to head there. He should stay in the city of ancient emperors and cultivate well. Given Qin Wentian's personality, he wouldn't agree. Bai Wuya shook his head. Bai Wuya, now that you know more about the heavenly talisman realm, you should understand that right now, many peak powers have already noticed our existence. It's just that they don't know how strong we are exactly. This time around, if Qin Wentian went there to face the calamity, our heavenly talisman realm would instantly be exposed. They would capture the disciples of our heavenly talisman realm and open up a passageway. In fact, they might even mobilize the entire immortal realms to attack our heavenly talisman realm. That would truly be a calamity. The supervisory general spoke to Bai Wuya. It's too early. This great era of the immortal realms is an opportunity. Many people from our heavenly talisman realm will rise up. Qin Wentian should endure for a period of time. Bai Wuya sighed silently. Since the supervisory general has already said this, it was destined that the heavenly talisman realm wouldn't participate in the war. After all, even the heavenly talisman realm wouldn't be able to stand against the entire immortal realms. However, you guys can head there to help. If there's anything you can do your best to protect Qin Wentian from death. But if there's nothing you can do, be cautious. Your life is the most important. The supervisory general instructed before turning and departing. Jun Mingchen's body trembled as he clenched his fists tightly. He stared at the gradually disappearing silhouette as he asked, "What does this count as?" "Mingchen, I know your relationship with Qin Wentian is extremely good, but this matter is too important. The supervisory general has to consider for the sake of the heavenly talisman realm." Jun Mingchen's senior apprentice brother spoke. "That's right. The current senior apprentice brother Qin isn't strong enough for the heavenly talisman realm to mobilize all their strength, right?" Jun Mingchen spoke with some anger. Jun Mingchen's senior apprentice brother shook his head. After all, he was still young and hot-blooded. However, he could understand Jun Mingchen's feelings. The heavenly talisman realm can't force their disciples to do anything. The immortal emperors of the heavenly talisman realm are all arrogant people, and Qin Wentian is facing a life-and-death crisis. You might have a good relationship with Qin Wentian, but how many other immortal emperors would be willing to fight for Qin Wentian? Leaving aside the fact that the heavenly talisman realm would be exposed, there's a possibility of death for those who participate in the war. In this grand era, everyone wants to climb to the peak. How many people would be willing to fight for Qin Wentian? Jun Mingchen's gaze stiffened. He was speechless, but he was still unhappy. The heavenly talisman realm could still control some immortal emperors. In the Judiciary Devil Hall on the Devil Mountain, before a majestic palace, the priestess Bai Qing knelt on the ground. She has already knelt here for 3 days. Bai Qing, this is a war between the major powers of the immortal realms. We can use this chance to weaken their strength. Our Judiciary Devil Hall has no reason to interfere. A voice rang out from within. Grand Priestess, Wentian Gij is the inheritor of the myriad Devil Sovereign. In the future, he would have a chance to inherit the Saint Devil Hall. Why can't our myriad Devil Islands participate in the war? Bai Qing knelt there and pleaded. "Get up, we will send experts from the city of ancient emperors over. As to whether we participate or not, that isn't something I can decide." The Grand Priestess sighed. Bai Qing knelt there and kowtowed to the palace. After that, she stood up and departed. In the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian was still cultivating. During these days, he didn't cultivate any other energy and only focused on the undying scripture. At the very least, he had to do his best. If he couldn't escape this calamity, he still had his avatar, Tion. At this moment, a few beautiful figures flew over. Qin Wentian. A gentle voice called out. Qin Wentian opened his eyes and stared at the person who came. Yunshi. Qin Wentian smiled. Qin Wentian, come with me to the Namhuang clan. The Southern Phoenix matriarch wants to see if you can cultivate the art of nirvanic rebirth. Namhuang Yunshi spoke. Qin Wentian smiled and shook his head. Back then in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, he had seen the art of nirvanic rebirth. Although it was extremely powerful, those people wouldn't give up on the nirvanic blood. He might as well use the undying scripture and his undying body. Many thanks to the Southern Phoenix matriarch. I have yet to thank you for saving my life back then. Yunshi, I will follow you to the Namhuang clan before heading to the Evergreen Kingdom. Qin Wentian stood up. After that, he turned his gaze over and spoke to the experts of the Battle Saint tribe. You guys continue to cultivate in the city of ancient emperors. There's no need to care about me. Young master. The eyes of the experts from the Battle Saint tribe stiffened. Qin Wentian waved his hands. Don't worry. As he spoke, he walked out. Even if he died, his avatar, Tion, would still be there to inherit everything from him. Qin Wentian left together with Namhuang Yunshi. After exiting the city of ancient emperors, they used teleportation arrays to return to the Namhuang clan with the fastest speed possible. The Southern Phoenix matriarch personally received Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian pays his respects to the Southern Phoenix matriarch. This was the second time Qin Wentian met the Southern Phoenix matriarch. Regardless of her countenance or demeanor, they were both perfect. Although Namhuang Yunshi was also a rare beauty, she still paled in comparison to the Southern Phoenix matriarch. The Southern Phoenix matriarch smiled and nodded. Her beautiful countenance exuded a sense of majesty, but in front of Qin Wentian, her countenance was warm and gentle, causing people to feel a sense of comfort. After we parted at the Demon God Mountain, I didn't expect you to already be unrivaled in the Immortal King realm. If you were given more time, I'm afraid the entire Immortal realms would belong to you. The Southern Phoenix matriarch spoke. Matriarch praises me too much. I'm afraid I won't be able to survive this calamity. It's hard for me to repay the debt of gratitude the Southern Phoenix matriarch had for saving my life back then. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. The Southern Phoenix matriarch casually shook her head. It's just a slight effort. Old devil duo Tian and Zidi wouldn't dare to do anything. There's no need to take it to heart. It's just that this is indeed your calamity. Right now, there are simply too many experts in the surroundings of the Evergreen Kingdom. This is especially so for the Sanluo Immortal Empire and the Forok race. They would definitely kill you for sure. In addition, there are many immortal emperors from the various major powers in the city of ancient emperors. If you go there, you would only be courting death. Even so, I will still go. This is something I should do. Qin Wentian replied. Everyone has their own determination. I won't persuade you. This time around, there are simply too many major powers involved. Even if my Namhuang clan does our best to protect you, it would be hard for us to do so. However, I will personally head there. If there's a chance, I will do my best. The Southern Phoenix matriarch stared at Qin Wentian as she silently sighed in her heart. Although Qin Wentian was already at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, in front of her he was still like a junior. She admired Qin Wentian very much. I have no way to repay Senior's kindness. Qin Wentian sincerely spoke. The Namhuang clan had nothing to do with him. There was no need for the Southern Phoenix matriarch to patronize him. Being able to help him to such an extent was already a great kindness. He waved his hand as a treasured cauldron appeared in the air. This cauldron contains the sacred luminance. Senior matriarch, you can allow the most powerful geniuses of the Namhuang clan to undergo a baptism. Consider this as me doing something for the Namhuang clan. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The beautiful eyes of the Southern Phoenix matriarch flashed with a strange light. Her immortal sense seeped into the cauldron. To think that the cauldron contained the sacred luminance. Chapter 1524. The beautiful eyes of the Southern Phoenix matriarch stared at Qin Wenin as she spoke. The sacred luminance is a sacred object. Why don't you use this as a condition to get my Namhuang clan to act for you? Junior and Yunxi are friends who have gone through life and death together. I also have many years of friendship with the Namhuang clan, and the Southern Phoenix matriarch has also saved my life before. This is what I ought to do. If I use this as a condition, wouldn't I be too despicable? Also, if I can't pass this calamity, I'm not willing to implicate the Namhuang clan. Qin Wendian slowly spoke. It's just that I hope that after I die, the Namhuang clan can maintain their relationship with the Evergreen Kingdom and help me take care of Qin. If the sacred luminance can help the Namhuang clan to grow stronger in the future, that would naturally be something I can only wish for. Qin Wenin. Namhuang Yunxi's heart trembled as sadness flashed in her eyes. Was he making funeral arrangements? The Southern Phoenix matriarch also sighed in her heart. She truly wanted to see how magnificent Qin Wenin would be after he matured. Sadly, was there really no way for him to escape this calamity? I'll have to trouble the Southern Phoenix matriarch to take care of this cauldron for me. If the Southern Phoenix matriarch can use it to unleash even greater power, you can directly use it. Qin Wendian spoke. The beautiful eyes of the Southern Phoenix matriarch flashed. This was truly making funeral arrangements. The sacred luminance was a sacred object. Just using it to baptize the members of the Namhuang clan was already sufficient to repay the Namhuang clan. Handing the sacred luminance and the cauldron to her was him making funeral arrangements. He hoped that she would be able to take care of Evergreen Qing in the future. Sure. The Southern Phoenix matriarch didn't reject. Yunxi and I are close friends, and she is also the holy successor of the Namhuang clan. I hope that the Southern Phoenix matriarch can take care of her. Qin Wendian smiled. You rascal, Yunxi is a member of my Namhuang clan. There's no need for you to remind me. If it wasn't for the fact that you have deep feelings for Evergreen Qing, I would have betrothed her to you. The Southern Phoenix matriarch casually smiled, her words causing Namhuang Yunxi's heart to tremble. Her face turned red as she stealthily glanced at Qin Wenin. Don't joke about a dying man like me, Your Majesty. Qin Wenin smiled bitterly and shook his head. Do you really not intend to try the Nirvana technique of the Namhuang clan? The Empress asked. Qin Wendian shook his head. It's almost time. I should set off. There's no rush. When the time is up, I will personally send you there. The Southern Phoenix matriarch stared at Qin Wendian, her words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash as he nodded lightly. In the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, the Dark North Immortal Mountain was also known as the Immortal Law Mountain. At this moment, a figure stepped into the forbidden ground. This figure was incomparably beautiful, exuding magnificence through the generations. Although she was dressed in simple clothes, it was still hard to conceal her beauty. This woman was none other than Princess Kitamura. She walked step by step towards the depths of the forbidden ground, entering the place she once entered before. There were two stone monuments that seemed to suppress everything, shining with resplendent light. After walking past the stone monuments, one could see a dilapidated city. Standing in the ruins, Princess Kitamura surveyed her surroundings. She then called out to the void, "Old fellow, I know you are here. This entire Immortal Law Mountain is under your control. I have something I want to ask you." "What's the matter?" An ethereal voice rang out from the void. It was none other than the voice of the old freak Qin Wendian met back then. "I met the person you once told me about. What did you mean by those words you spoke to me back then?" Princess Kitamura spoke to the void. "You met him so quickly?" That voice rang out once more, lazily continuing, "Nothing much, I've already said what I need to say." "You?" Princess Kitamura's expression turned unsightly. She was thinking that the words spoken by this madman back then, could they be trusted or not? However, back then when she met Qin Wendian, that bastard who took advantage of her also said something similar to this madman. This caused her to feel some suspicion. Could it be that this was truly fate that determined their fate? However, that shameless bastard, how could this be possible? When she thought of this, Princess Kitamura felt a wave of anger. It's fine if you don't want to say it. In any case, he is going to die soon. Right now, half of the major powers in the immortal realms are gathered in the eastern regions, wanting his life. He won't be able to escape this calamity. Oh, so what if he dies? What does it have to do with me? That old man replied, his words causing Princess Kitamura to be stunned. It does have something to do with you. You just came here to beg me to save him, right? That madman spoke. I don't have the leisure to do that. I beg you to save him. Princess Kitamura's countenance turned cold. It's best if he dies earlier. It's just that he has obtained your inheritance after all, so I came here to tell you about it. If not, it wouldn't be good if your inheritance is severed if he dies for no reason. If I want a successor, I can find one at any time. If he dies, so be it. It doesn't matter. The old man's voice was filled with indifference. Little lass, don't tell me you want to accompany me because you know I'm lonely? Dream on. Princess Kitamura seemed to have a similar experience as Qin Wenin. She was extremely unhappy with this old man. She turned and left. I've already conveyed the message. Whether he dies or not has nothing to do with me. You can do whatever you want. After speaking, she directly departed, leaving this place. Two heartless fellows. The figure of the old man appeared in the ruins where Princess Kitamura was earlier. His long hair was still in a mess and he resembled a madman as he mumbled to himself, "Die? I wouldn't be able to die even if I wanted to." In the eastern regions of the immortal realms, in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. Right now, the vast majority of the residents in the royal capital had all moved out, not daring to remain in the city. The Evergreen Kingdom Palace was on the verge of collapse and could be destroyed at any moment. Once a war broke out, it was unknown how many people would die to the aftershocks. Hence, for those whose cultivation bases weren't high enough, they all left the royal capital long ago, waiting for the storm to subside before returning. However, even though countless people had moved away, there were still many experts in the royal capital. Also, most of them were characters with high cultivation bases. One could say that if one were to casually walk on the streets, they could easily see an immortal king existence. Right now, the Evergreen Kingdom's royal capital was filled with immortal kings. After many experts exited the city of ancient emperors, they directly headed to the Evergreen Kingdom and gathered here. With the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom as the center, the experts from the various peak powers gathered here. Today was the deadline of 3 months that Qin Wenin set. Up in the sky, the sun hung high, casting its gaze onto the Evergreen Kingdom's royal palace. However, the people in the royal palace didn't feel any warmth, only coldness. Today, the fate of the Evergreen Kingdom would be decided. The various peak powers had long released news that if Qin Wenin didn't keep to his promise and didn't appear today, they would directly annihilate the Evergreen Kingdom, razing it to flat ground. Everything was decided with a single thought from Qin Wenin. In the royal palace of the immortal empire, in the princess residence, two beauties were together. These two were none other than Qing'er and Qingqing. Qingqing, it's really time to leave. I'll send you off now. Qing'er spoke to Qingqing. Elder sister Qing'er, do you think he will really come today? Mo Qingqing asked in a light voice. A trace of sorrow could be seen in Qing'er's beautiful eyes. It's all my fault. Elder sister Qing'er, I don't blame you. This is something he has to bear. It's just that no matter what he has to bear as his wife, I will accompany him. No matter what happens, we will always be together. As long as he is here, I will be here as well. I won't leave. Mo Qingqing gently smiled. Her smile contained traces of poignant beauty. She knew how difficult it was for Qin Wenin to walk all the way here from his particle world. Who would have thought that even now in the immortal realms, there would still be so many people who wanted to kill him? Qingqing. Qing'er stared at the smile in Mo Qingqing's eyes as she sighed lightly. She held Mo Qingqing's hand and smiled. Okay then, let's wait for him together. Let's wait for that Dumbo together. Mo Qingcheng smiled and nodded, as though this wasn't a matter of life and death. Rumbling sounds rang out, causing the entire space to tremble. In the air, a group of experts on war chariots could be seen flying over. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man who exuded boundless might. His eyes could see through everything as he stared at the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. In an instant, the entire imperial palace was enveloped by a stifling pressure. Today, if Qin Wenyan doesn't come to accept his death, I will definitely raise the Evergreen Kingdom to flat ground. His voice was terrifying, causing the hearts of countless people to tremble. This man was none other than the Sunluo Immortal Emperor of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. His most beloved son, the supreme crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire, died in the hands of Qin Wenyan. He personally led immortal emperors here to kill Qin Wenyan. In another direction, demonic qi towered into the sky. Golden flames seemed to be incinerating the void. The experts of the Forok race had arrived. Numerous terrifying Forok floated in the air, covering the entire sky, terrifying to the extreme. Beside them, there were the ugly yet terrifying Heavenhold race, void beasts, as well as the cruel and tyrannical White Tiger people. Back then, they still remembered how Qin Wenyan ate White Tiger meat for food. Now that they were in the city of ancient emperors, they might as well take this chance to kill Qin Wenyan. Although that fellow was still a peak-stage immortal king, he had already matured and was a threat to them. The experts from the eastern regions also arrived. Zidi, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor, the Supreme Sword School, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor rode on a terrifying war elephant. His expression was extremely cold as his killing intent was extremely dense. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was raised to flat ground by the White Emperor. He didn't come here simply to kill Qin Wenyan. The 9 Emperors' Immortal State, Sacred Sun Sect, and the other major powers also arrived. No matter what, Qin Wenyan had killed their people before. Today, it was a good opportunity for them to see how this unparalleled character in the Immortal King realm would die. In the Imperial Palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, a group of experts soared up into the air. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor and Matriarch Ji were among them. Matriarch Ji swept her gaze over them as she coldly spoke. All the experts of the immortal realms gathered here, including the immortal emperors and demon emperors from the various peak powers. To think that all of this is just for the sake of killing a junior immortal king. This seat has lived for so many years and today can truly be considered as an eye-opener. GD, it's best that you don't step into these muddy waters. The Sunluo Immortal Emperor stared at GD as he coldly spoke. So many experts gathered here just to kill a junior immortal king. It was truly not nice to hear, but Qin Wenyan had to die no matter what. GD, could it be that you want to protect Qin Wenyan? ZD coldly spoke. There were simply too many powers here that wanted to kill Qin Wenyan. As long as anyone dared to say that they wanted to protect Qin Wenyan, they would have to think carefully about the consequences. He wanted nothing more than for GD to say that she wanted to protect Qin Wenyan. If that was the case, he would destroy all of them together. Chapter 1525. How could GD not understand ZD's meaning? Her imposing eyes turned cold as she glanced at ZD. There's no need for you to act like a fox borrowing the tiger's might here. You, ZD, can also be considered a peak-stage immortal emperor and have been famous for a long time. Back then when Zi Daoyang died, you already made things difficult for Qin Wenyan. It's said that you even sent people to the Evergreen Kingdom to demand for Qin Wenyan. You truly know how to flaunt your seniority. What happened in the end? No one gave you face and you flew into a rage out of humiliation, yet you still chose to hunt down a junior. Now, you even dragged your other son, Zi Daolong, into the picture. GD's words undoubtedly stabbed right into ZD's sore spot. Violet light gleamed in his eyes, incomparably imposing. Don't play this game with me. If it wasn't for you borrowing the prestige of others, I wouldn't have placed you, Violet Mountain, in my eyes at all. Qin Wenyan killed your son. I don't care if you bully a junior. If you have the ability, you can just send people to kill Qin Wenyan. Since you acted personally, you are the one who lost face. However, you guys actually came to the Evergreen Kingdom and used my disciple's life to threaten Qin Wenyin. How glorious! GD didn't mind at all. She coldly stared at everyone. I'll make my words clear. Since you guys are so shameless today and dared to do such a thing, we will definitely return the favor in the future. We will form an alliance to visit your Violet Mountain. Let's hope that at that time you ZD will still be as imposing as before. Those who could cultivate to the peak stage of the immortal Emperor realm were all extremely arrogant characters. GD was famous throughout the immortal realms and her personal disciple, Qin, was being threatened. One could very well imagine how unhappy she felt in her heart. Hence, she didn't mince her words and directly threatened ZD. Not only did she threaten ZD, she also threatened the others as well. Today, because these people wanted to kill Qin Wenyin, they couldn't kill him alone. Hence, they came together. But what if they really killed Qin Wenyin? Could it be that they could merge into a single force? GD, the Evergreen Kingdom, and the immortal Qianbian Gate were still around. After this incident, GD and the others could also do the same. They could form an alliance and attack a certain force. Who would dare to say that they could withstand such retaliation? As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the experts from the Eastern forces changed. Whether it was in terms of geographical location or strength, if the other party wanted to retaliate, they would be the first to bear the brunt. In this space, there were also many experts from major powers who came here to spectate. All of them were coldly laughing in their hearts, wanting to watch a good show. The immortal realms would fall into chaos sooner or later. It would be best for these major powers to have a grand battle to exhaust some of their strength. These major powers came in such a domineering manner and even surrounded the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. This meant that they had thoroughly offended the Evergreen Kingdom. GD and the Evergreen Kingdom have always been close. In addition to their relationship with the Evergreen Qingya, they would definitely form an alliance in the future. But now, it was hard for these major powers to dismount. Did they want to swallow GD and the Evergreen Kingdom in one go? It wouldn't be so easy. GD was proficient in spatial energy and was also a peak stage immortal emperor. Even if they couldn't win, they could still flee. In addition, the White Emperor was still outside. If they killed GD's subordinates as well, the revenge would only be more ruthless. I only want Qin Wenyan's life. Whoever dares to obstruct me will be the enemy of my Sanluo immortal empire. Whoever wants revenge, feel free to come. The Sanluo immortal emperor coldly spoke. His son with the highest talent was killed. No matter who Qin Wenyin was, no matter what the consequences were, Qin Wenyin had to die no matter what. If he doesn't die, we will destroy the Evergreen Kingdom first. The voice of an expert from the Forok race was extremely cold. Jia Huangtian was definitely one of the few with the highest talent in the Forok race, yet he had died. At this moment, more and more experts arrived, including those from the peak powers who had nothing to do with this. For example, the people from the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, the 100 Refinements sect, the Jade Lake Immortal Palace, as well as the various demonic races of the Desolate Mountains. The Namhuang clan actually didn't come? A cold voice rang out. The experts from the Ying clan had arrived. They had always been in conflict with the Namhuang clan. As one of the 3 great clans of the southern regions, they naturally wanted nothing more than for the Namhuang clan to be embroiled in this storm. Don't be anxious, the Namhuang clan should be here. A person laughed. The Southern Phoenix matriarch was acquainted with Qin Wenyin. Back then on the Demon God Mountain, she had helped Qin Wenyin before. The relationship between the Namhuang clan and Qin Wenyin wasn't shallow. If there were no accidents, they should be here. Many devil cultivators from the myriad devil islands have arrived. Seems like things are going to be lively today. Someone glanced in a direction. Over there were many experts from the myriad devil islands. Their auras were cold and tyrannical, exuding a faint devil might. Although the devil cultivators were gathered in a single location, they were all from different factions. Even the esteemed monks of the Wenshin Temple have arrived. In a certain direction, there were a few monks clad in kasaya. Although they looked ordinary, there was a faint glow radiating from them. Their appearances were solemn and holy, and it was clear that they had an extremely high level of Buddhist arts. They were pure Buddhist cultivators, unlike the Jiang clan. Although they cultivated in Buddhist arts, they weren't the Buddhist sect's wuxiu. More and more experts arrived. The upper echelons of the immortal Qianbian Gate had all arrived. The Emperor of Qianbian and Baiwuya were also here. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor coldly glanced over. Other than Qin Wenyin, the ones he hated the most were the Emperor of Qianbian and Baiwuya. He wanted nothing more than to tear these two into pieces. Other than them, there was also the pure Yang Sword Emperor who appeared during the decisive battle between the immortal Qianbian Gate and the Dongshengshan Gate. There was also an old man with a transcendent aura. This old man was the senior apprentice brother of Jun Mengchen and was also an immortal emperor character. On the side of the immortal Qianbian Gate, there were actually 4 immortal emperors. This caused many to feel shock in their hearts. The Emperor of Qianbian naturally sensed the coldness from the Dongxing Heaven Emperor's direction. He coldly glanced over and impolitely stared back. Eastern Sage, to think that after the destruction of the Dongshengshan Gate, you actually became a dog for someone else. You have wasted your entire lifetime of cultivation. How lamentable. He was naturally referring to old devil Duo Tian. That old devil was extremely harsh to his subordinates. Eastern Sage actually joined his sect and hired old devil Duo Tian to kill Qin Wenyin. Clearly, Eastern Sage had already sold himself out to old devil Duo Tian. You guys better think about yourselves first. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor sinisterly spoke. Jun Mengchen stood at the back. He wanted to personally come and take a look. When he saw the lineup of his enemies, he felt a sense of helplessness. They were too strong. There was simply nothing he could do to reverse the situation. The Heavenly Talisman realm wasn't willing to send their immortal emperors to participate in the battle. In that case, there was no way they could defend against so many major powers. The immortals, devils and demons are all here in an orderly manner today. There should be more than half of the peak powers in the immortal realms here. Someone spoke in a low voice. Including the spectators, the immortals, devils and demons who appeared here today were all gathered here. Indeed, there were more than half of the peak powers in the immortal realms here. For the sake of an immortal King Qin Wenyin, there was actually such a commotion. If this was in the past, no one would dare to believe this. Many people who had never seen Qin Wenyin before were all very curious. They wanted to see what sort of character this young immortal king was exactly. Right now, he was rumored to be a godlike character, rising up from a nameless immortal foundation to an unrivaled king in the immortal king realm in just a single day. His growth speed was so fast that it was shocking. In the airspace above the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, experts from the various major powers could be seen everywhere, exuding a majestic aura. This group of people who could determine the entire situation in the immortal realms stood together just like that in the airspace above the royal palace because they wanted to kill one person and help one person. Facing such a situation, would Qin Wenyin still be able to come? If he came, he would die. Qin Wenyin clearly knew that he would die. Would he still come? Many people were filled with doubt. After all, the rumored Qin Wenyin was definitely a supreme genius. If he was allowed to grow, he would definitely have a glorious day in the future, soaring up into the clouds. Such a person would definitely have a terrifying state of heart and a resolute heart. Would he send himself to death for the sake of a daughter? As for the major characters here, they wouldn't. If it was them, they definitely wouldn't appear today. To them, there was nothing more important than staying alive. Princess Kitamura and Baiming Nongyue stood together, appearing beside the Dark North Immortal Emperor as they quietly waited. Elder Sis, do you think he would appear? Baiming Nongyue asked in a light voice. Although she was acquainted with Qin Wenyin, she couldn't be sure. There's an 80% chance that someone as shameless as him wouldn't appear. Princess Kitamura's tone was unkind. Baiming Nongyue's lips twitched. Although she also didn't wish to see Qin Wenyin sending himself to death, her elder sister seemed to have some prejudice against Qin Wenyin. She glanced at Li Yufeng, who was in the 100 Refinements sex camp. She could see a trace of worry in his eyes. Evidently, he didn't wish to see Qin Wenyin dying. Su Qingyao also came. She stood beside two immortal emperors. These two immortal emperors exuded magnificence throughout the generations. They were her parents. The fox goddess also arrived. She was among the nine-tailed fox experts. At this moment, Pei Qing also came over. He rushed towards the location where Princess Kitamura was and bowed to the Dark North Immortal Emperor, "Your Majesty." "Pei Qing, why did you come out from the city of ancient emperors as well?" The Dark North Immortal Emperor smiled. "I knew that Yu Huang came out and guessed that it might be because of this commotion. Hence, I came here to join in the fun." Pei Qing smiled. After that, he glanced at Princess Kitamura, but he was directly ignored. Pei Qing bitterly smiled and shook his head. He also didn't expect that Qin Wendian would actually be able to cause such a commotion. Seems like he was courting death. In the airspace above the Emperor Palace, Changqing the Great, Qing'er and the others were all here. Changqing the Great still hadn't released the binding on Qing'er. He was worried that Qing'er would use her death to prevent Qin Wendian from appearing. "Father, why must you do this?" Qing'er stared at Changqing the Great as sorrow appeared on her face. She knew that Qin Wendian would definitely come. Only she didn't doubt it. However, she would rather that Qin Wendian didn't come. "As father, I respected your choice and didn't tell him. However, as your father, how can I watch you die?" Changqing the Great spoke. "If he doesn't come, it means that he isn't worthy of you. If he comes, it means that he is a true man. I will be proud of him." Qing'er closed her eyes as she sighed in her heart. At this moment, a multicolored light descended from the sky, incomparably resplendent. In an instant, the temperature in the sky turned incomparably hot. Terrifying flames wanted to incinerate the heavens and earth as seven-colored light descended, incomparably resplendent. Auspicious clouds descended from the sky, transforming into the silhouette of a phoenix. It was so beautiful that it stirred the hearts of people. Qing'er inclined her head and stared at this scene as tears flowed unceasingly down her cheeks. What a beautiful phoenix! But why did she feel so much pain in her heart? Chapter 1526. The beautiful multicolored light of the phoenix stirred the souls of everyone. The seven-colored light cascaded downwards as a clear and melodious phoenix cry rang out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. That was a true divine phoenix, bathing in boundless phoenix flames. Its wings were spread open, exuding a resplendent magnificence as it floated in the air. On the back of the divine phoenix, there was a figure exuding magnificence that exuded magnificence through the generations. She was noble, holy, and beautiful. It was as though there were no words in the world that could describe her right now. She was none other than the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch actually brought this divine phoenix here. The hearts of the experts trembled, filled with shock. He has arrived. Everyone stared at the young man beside the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. He was incomparably handsome, and his white robes fluttered in the wind. He who was bathed in the multicolored light of the phoenix exuded an aura of magnificence through the generations. This was especially so when he stood side by side with the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. His radiance was even more dazzling, causing everyone to sigh in amazement at the fact that such a young man had actually appeared in the immortal realms. Qing'er's tears were like a kite with a broken string. She had no way to stop them. Her crystal-like tears flowed down her cheeks unceasingly, dripping onto her robes. He came. Even though he knew that he came here to die, he still came. Even though she already knew that he would return, at the instant she saw him, Qing'er still couldn't endure the heart-wrenching pain. It was precisely because he came that she felt so much pain. Even if he didn't come, she wouldn't feel any pain in her heart. "Why did you come? Who allowed you to come?" Qing'er's voice was as melodious as ever, yet there was a hint of heartbreak in it. She inclined her head and stared at the beautiful figure in the air, her heart aching so much that she found it hard to breathe. Why did he come here to die? Could it be that he didn't know what sort of talent he had and how great his accomplishments would be in the future? Could it be that he didn't know that as long as he stepped into the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, these people would definitely kill him? "Because I want to ask for your hand in marriage." Qin Wenyan smiled gently, his words causing Qing's body to tremble violently. Her heart trembled as well. She stared blankly at the silhouettes walking down from the air. On the left and right of her, there were holy maidens of the Namhuang clan, holding precious gifts in their hands. Their beauty was unparalleled as they walked towards Qing. "Because I want to ask for your hand in marriage." "What is this guy trying to do?" The eyes of the experts flashed. Didn't he know that he would die for sure? He actually wanted to marry Evergreen Qing? Even the people on Qin Wentian's side were stunned. Chang Qing the Great looked at the figure walking down step by step and the saintess of the Namhuang clan beside him. It didn't look like he was joking at all. Very swiftly, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor seemed to have understood something. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at Qin Wenyan with gentleness in his eyes. He sighed in his heart. Seems like before he came here he had already thought things through. He didn't use the teleportation array of the Namhuang clan but chose to appear in such a dazzling manner. The saintess of the Namhuang clan was holding gifts in her hands. Without a doubt, he understood what she meant. This was a betrothal gift. Qin Wenyan was making arrangements for the future. Truly not knowing the immensity of death. Someone who is about to die actually still has such a mood. Zidi coldly spoke. When Zi Daolong died, his immortal sense saw the saber-sword Immortal King. But at that time, he didn't expect that the saber-sword Immortal King was actually Qin Wenyan. "Ask for my hand in marriage? I'm afraid you won't have such a chance anymore." Dongsheng Heaven Emperor coldly spoke, his killing intent surging as he lunged towards Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan acted as though he didn't see it. He continued walking towards Qin, with a smile on his face. It was like he didn't come here to die but was here to ask for her hand in marriage. A violent aura gushed forth from the Sanluo Immortal Emperor as his killing intent churned fiercely, gushing towards Qin Wenyan. At the same time, the cry of a phoenix rang out once more as the silhouette of a phoenix soared through the air, blocking everyone. The Southern Phoenix matriarch calmly spoke, "Today, no matter what grudges you all have with him, please talk about it later." The Namhuang clan wants to protect Qin Wenyan? An expert from the Ying clan coldly laughed. The Southern Phoenix matriarch glanced at him as a look of disdain flashed in her eyes. After that, she turned to everyone. "I, the Southern Phoenix matriarch, have promised him that I will ensure that his marriage proposal goes smoothly. If anyone dares to cause trouble, it means that they are my enemies and you can act against me." As the sound of her voice faded, a towering aura gushed forth from the Southern Phoenix matriarch. The divine phoenix beneath her also radiated an incomparable might as its aura gushed into the Southern Phoenix matriarch. In the air, boundless divine flames cascaded downwards, causing the constellations to shine together, causing the sun and moon to lose their luster. At this moment, the Southern Phoenix matriarch was surrounded by the silhouettes of phoenixes. The eyes of everyone flashed. At this moment, the Southern Phoenix matriarch seemed to have fused together with the divine phoenix. Her combat prowess was extremely terrifying and it was unknown how strong she was. If they forcefully acted against her, they would have to pay a heavy price. In addition, the Southern Phoenix matriarch didn't say that she would protect Qin Wenyan. It was like she understood that no one would be able to protect Qin Wenyan today. She only said that she would ensure that Qin Wentian's marriage proposal went smoothly. What a bluff! Southern Phoenix matriarch, could it be that you want to become enemies with the entire immortal realms? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor spoke. He stood on a divine elephant, exuding an extremely imposing aura. There were a few immortal emperors beside him. They were the remaining forces of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. If one asked who had the deepest hatred for the Evergreen Kingdom, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom would definitely be ranked first. You still don't have the qualifications to speak to me. If you want to act, the few of you are still not enough. The Southern Phoenix matriarch impolitely insulted. The expression of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor instantly turned ugly to the extreme. This insult was simple and crude, but he had no way to refute it. Fine, I will wait a little longer. I hope the Namhuang clan won't make the wrong decision. The Sanluo Immortal Emperor coldly spoke. At this moment, Qin Wenyan already walked to the side of Qing'e. When he saw that Qing'er's pure and holy face was wet with tears, he smiled and stretched out his hand, gently wiping away Qing'er's tears. He then softly spoke, "Qing'e, do you hate me so much when you see me crying like this?" Qing'e felt even more pain in her heart when she heard Qin Wentian's casual words. There was no way for her to stop her tears. She had never cried as much as she did today. "All right then. In that case, since you hate me so much, are you still willing to marry me?" Qin Wentian gently spoke. Qing'e scrutinized Qin Wentian's countenance, as though she wanted to carve his features into her mind and remember them forever. "I'm willing." All of a sudden, a smile appeared on her face. Although there were tears in her eyes, her smile was still so beautiful, so radiant, moving to the extreme. Even for many enemies, when they saw this touching scene, they couldn't help but silently admire the relationship between the two of them. What an immortal couple! For Qin Wentian, Evergreen Qing'e wanted to come here alone to die. After that, Qin Wentian obtained the news and besieged the immortal empire. Qin Wentian knew that he would die for sure, but he still came here without any hesitation. Not only did he come, he even requested to marry her. Qin Wentian gently embraced Qing'e. Qing'e allowed him to hug her as her tears continued to wet Qin Wentian's robes. Mo Qingqing watched from below. As she watched, she also started to cry. However, she was very quiet and didn't disturb Qin Wentian and Qing'e. She was willing to give them some time, even if she really wanted to go over and hug Qin Wentian. This gentle embrace seemed to last for a very, very long time. Qin Wentian released her and turned his gaze to the evergreen immortal emperor as he smiled. "Your Majesty, I didn't prepare too much and the betrothal gifts are a little crude. In addition, you personally betrothed Qing'er to me before. You wouldn't have any objections if I came here today to propose, right?" "Since I betrothed Qing'er to you, I naturally wouldn't have any objections." Changqing the Great nodded. "In that case, I will entrust Qing'er to you in the future. Help me take good care of her." Qin Wenyan stared at the evergreen emperor as he spoke, as though he was making arrangements for his funeral. "I will." Changqing the Great didn't say anything else. He was Qing'er's father, this was something he ought to do. He solemnly nodded his head, accepting Qin Wentian's request. How could he not understand that Qin Wenyan was proposing this time because he was worried that Qing'er would die together with him? Qin Wentian was too considerate. How could Qing'er not understand Qin Wentian's meaning? She shook her head lightly and wanted to say something, but she only saw Qin Wentian placing his hands on her perfect face. He spoke in a light voice, "Qing'er, I've already proposed to you. You have to wait for me to marry you. Before that, I won't allow anything to happen to you." Many people were puzzled. If it was said that Qin Wentian was making arrangements for his funeral, then now he said that he would wait for him to marry Qing'e. This was undoubtedly nonsense. It was somewhat baffling. However, Qing'er just looked at Qin Wenyan and shook her head. "Qing, you know that I won't die. You have to wait for me." Qin Wentian looked at Qing'er's eyes. Qing'er seemed to understand what he meant. Her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of pain. Was Qin Wenyan going to face everything alone? Looking at Qin Wentian's gentle and expectant eyes, she closed her eyes in pain. In the end, she still nodded her head. Qin Wenyan finally heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Qing'er nodding her head. He gently stared at the maiden in front of him as he spoke in a light voice. "Qing'e, you have to wait for me to come back and marry you. Help me take care of her. You have to." Qing'e naturally knew who Qin Wentian was referring to. Seems like he didn't even intend to bid farewell to Mo Qingqing. To Mo Qingqing, wasn't this a little too cruel? "I will." Qing'er seriously nodded her head. She naturally understood the meaning of the word, take care of. She would definitely not allow anything to happen to Mo Qingqing. In fact, Qin Wenyan didn't even want to speak to her. It wasn't that he didn't love her, it was because he loved her too much. Even if he really died, even if these experts all dispersed, who could guarantee that there wouldn't be any vengeful people who would implicate the people around him? In such a situation, he didn't want others to see the relationship between him and Mo Qingqing. He wanted to protect her. "Qingqing, take care." I will be back, wait for me. Qin Wenyan transmitted his voice to Mo Qingqing, after which he resolutely turned and walked towards the direction where the experts were gathered. His back faced Qing'er, and his back faced Mo Qingqing. Qing'er didn't continue crying. Her beautiful eyes were filled with determination, while Mo Qingqing knelt down and sobbed. Was he going to bear all of this alone? Chapter 1527. In the vast space, when Qin Wenyan faced these people, it felt like he was facing half of the immortal realms. He had never seen such a powerful group of people before. Any one of these people could cause an entire immortal realm to tremble when they walked out. But now, all of them were actually gathered here. Not only that, the vast majority of them wanted to kill him. Everyone, you all truly think highly of me, Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan seemed to be mocking himself, but what he said was the truth. Such a powerful lineup was sent out just for him. They truly thought too highly of him. Hence, your death isn't in vain. The Sanluo immortal emperor coldly spoke. Being able to kill the son he doted on the most, the Yama king, indicated that Qin Wenyan's talent was very clear. But an enemy was an enemy. He wouldn't feel any admiration for Qin Wenyan at all. Indeed, it's just that I feel somewhat unwilling. Qin Wenyan laughed carefreely. The immortal realms are so vast, there are countless geniuses who rose up in different eras, who didn't trample on the geniuses of others to ascend to the throne. I'm sure everyone is the same. The people I killed were all people who had killing intent towards me. I once asked myself, if I had the chance to do it all over again, I would still kill them. Maybe, because the commotion in the city of ancient emperors this time around was too great, the number of people I killed naturally increased, leading to today's situation. However, I'm sure everyone is very clear why they died. They thought that they were inferior to me, hence, they were the ones who died. If not, I would be the one who died. Qin Wenyan coldly spoke. Initially, I had the chance to kill everyone in the city of ancient emperors. But I didn't because I didn't want to implicate the people around me. Sadly, even though I did so, all of you still implicated the people around me in order to kill me. Are you done? Zidi coldly spoke. Zidi, since I'm already standing here, I naturally have no plans to leave this place alive. It's just that I'm laughing at how narrow-minded you are despite being a peak-stage immortal emperor. Back then, if it wasn't for Zi Daoyang's death, there wouldn't have been such a grudge between us. Zi Daolong wouldn't have died. The one who killed Zi Daolong was me, but as his father, you naturally have to bear some responsibility for his death. Qin Wenyan said bluntly, causing Zidi's expression to turn even more unsightly. Killing intent gushed out from his body. Since you know that you will die, what's the point of saying all this? Zidi said coldly, I only want to tell everyone that after I die, all grudges and grudges will vanish like smoke into thin air. Don't implicate me again. If not, although I'm dead, I still have many seniors and friends in the immortal realms. They will definitely pay attention to your juniors and descendants. Unless all of you die, it's best if you all consider for their sake. You want to say that everything will be cleared after you die? Fine, I will grant you your wish. I originally had no grudges with the Evergreen Kingdom. Everything will come to an end once you die. The Sanluo immortal emperor spoke. Qin Wenyan wanted to use his life to resolve this storm. He didn't want Zidi, Eastern Sage, or the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to continue acting against the Evergreen Kingdom after his death. Many of the major powers in the immortal realms didn't have any objections. They were also mindful of what Chongqing the Great said earlier. If the Evergreen Kingdom, Namhuang clan, and the other major powers wanted to take revenge on them, it would truly be a headache for them. After all, they couldn't always protect their own descendants, right? To many people, they only wanted to kill Qin Wenyan. However, the expressions of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor and Dongsheng Heaven Emperor grew extremely unsightly. Qin Wenyan actually wanted to bear all the grudges with his own strength? Did he want to die just to settle everything? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor would never agree to this. He had to take revenge for the White Emperor who destroyed his Sky Mist Immortal Emperor. Even the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor wouldn't agree to this. You can die now. The Sinluo immortal emperor coldly spoke. Although he came here for revenge, he was still the ruler of the Sinluo immortal empire, a peak-stage immortal emperor. Even if he personally killed Qin Wenyan, it wouldn't be a very glorious thing. Since Qin Wenyan had the will to die, he might as well let him commit suicide. Qin Wenyan turned his head, glancing in the direction of Mo Qingqing before glancing at Qing as a smile appeared in his eyes. Why? Qing seemed to be mumbling to herself. Why did Qin Wenyan come here? Why did things turn out like this? Why did he want to propose marriage? Why did he want her to live on and wait for him? Qin Wenyan smiled at Qing. His smile was so radiant, but the more radiant it was, the more pain Qing felt in her heart. Finally, she saw Qin Wenyan turning around as a terrifying aura gushed forth from him. Silly little fellow. A sigh rang out, only to see a hand resting on Qin Wenyan's shoulder. Qin Wenyan stared at the Chongqing the Great in bewilderment, only to see the evergreen immortal emperor laughing. You can already be considered half a son of mine. These people have already been killed and they even surrounded my evergreen empire. How can I stand aside and watch you die? So, even if I know it's impossible, I still have to fight. After speaking, a terrifying rustling sound rang out as the evergreen tree appeared, enveloping the heavens and earth. Its radiance was dazzling, instantly radiating outwards in all directions, fusing together with the Chongqing the Great, shielding the entire royal capital of the Evergreen Empire from view. Your Majesty, you promised me that you would take good care of Qing. Qin Wenyan spoke in a low voice. At this moment, if I don't participate in the battle, I would be letting you down, letting Qing down. But don't worry, if I can't stop them from killing you, I won't seek death. Fighting is the attitude of I, the evergreen immortal emperor. The Chongqing the Great turned his gaze to everyone. Since my son-in-law has already spoken, after this battle, if Qin Wenyan dies, all grudges will be cleared. You guys can choose to kill me in this battle, or I can choose to kill your people. After this battle, everything will be settled. If not, the White Emperor is still outside. Well said. Fighting is the attitude. Since the Chongqing the Great has spoken, in that case, I, the Southern Phoenix Matriarch, will participate in the battle and experience the immortal emperors of the immortal realms. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch laughed. She didn't expect the Chongqing the Great to stand out at this moment. Since Qin Wenyan was willing to die, she didn't hope to obstruct these people from killing Qin Wenyan. But just like what the Evergreen Immortal Emperor has said, fighting is the attitude. She, the Southern Phoenix Matriarch, will participate in the battle. She knew that since she brought the Divine Phoenix with her, unless these people all surrounded her, she wouldn't die here. Very good. The experts from the Ying clan all laughed. If the Namhuang clan participated in the battle, even if Qin Wenyan died, everything would vanish like smoke into thin air. In the chaotic immortal realms in the future, at the very least, these major powers wouldn't be friends with the Namhuang clan. The possibility of them being enemies was very high. Their Ying clan naturally hoped that the more vicious the battle, the better. It would be best if the heavens and earth crumbled. Ants trying to shake a tree. The Sinluo immortal emperor coldly spoke. Me too. GD's voice drifted over. However, the eyes of the experts didn't fluctuate too much. They knew that they might be facing a great help. Hence, the experts who came to the Evergreen Kingdom this time around were far stronger than they had imagined. My immortal Qianbian Gate will naturally participate in the battle. Bai Wuya calmly spoke. Jun Mengchen, who was beside him, clenched his fists tightly. Although the hope was slim, at the very least, there was still a ray of hope. He didn't allow the Heavenly Talisman realm to participate, but there were still 4 immortal emperors on their side. They couldn't be underestimated. Namhuang Yunshi also succeeded. The Southern Matriarch of the Namhuang clan brought along her Divine Phoenix and personally participated in the battle. Woo-woo. From afar, Little Rascal let out whimpering sounds towards the old heaven-devouring beast. Purgatory's beautiful eyes were also staring at the old heaven-devouring beast. However, the old heaven-devouring beast shook his head. Not enough, this is far from enough. If I participate in the battle, I can protect myself. But do you really think that everything would be cleared after this battle? This time around, he has already offended several peak demon races. If I participate in the battle, once they find an opportunity, things would be extremely miserable for me. I still want to watch you grow up. In another location, Bai Qing's eyes were filled with tears. She stared unblinkingly at the powerful devil cultivator beside her as boundless anticipation could be seen in her eyes. If I don't agree, you would most probably hate the Judiciary Devil Hall to death. Forget it, there's nothing for my Devil Mountain to be afraid of. As he spoke, that devil cultivator stepped out. Count me in. The experts here were somewhat bewildered. The people from the myriad devil islands actually wanted to participate as well? This Qin Wentian's face was truly too great. My myriad ancient devil hall will participate. Bujie announced in a loud voice. The devil emperors beside him stared at Bujie in astonishment. After that, they smiled bitterly and walked out. They agreed to come here to take a look, and if there's a chance, they would lend a helping hand. However, they didn't agree to participate directly. But now that this fellow Bujie announced this, could it be that they wanted to say that the disciples of the myriad ancient devil hall made a mistake and they didn't want to participate? This wasn't the style of devil cultivators. It was too embarrassing. Not far away from them, another devil cultivator walked out silently. This caused Bujie to be somewhat taken aback. It was actually someone from the Apostle Devil Hall. Could it be because of Qin Wentian's inheritance? On the Devil Mountain, 3 out of the 6 supreme devil halls acted, causing many in the immortal realms to be shocked. In the direction of the 9 emperors' immortal state, Huang Shatian should be the one who understood this the most. He stared at the young man as he sighed in his heart. It was unknown if he was sighing because of Qin Wentian's talent or because he would die soon. Benefactor Qin has fate with my Wenxin temple. Since it's fated, we have to do something eventually. An immortal emperor from the Buddhist sect walked out from the Wenxin temple, radiating Buddha light. Who? At this moment, the Sanluo immortal emperor and the demon emperor from the Forok race inclined their heads and stared at the sky. Over there, a resplendent light flashed as a man stood in the air. There was an arrow in his hand as astral energy descended from the sky. Emperor Yu. Zidi's countenance turned cold. I'm the servant of ancient Emperor Yi. Qin Wentian is ancient Emperor Yi's successor. I won't allow you guys to bully him like this. The agreement between you and Evergreen is your own matter. I'm alone, and if Qin Wentian dies here today, in the future, if I meet any of your descendants, I will kill them one by one. Emperor Yu impolitely spoke, his words causing the expressions of many experts to turn unsightly. This was what they were most vexed about. After all, the threat of a peak-stage immortal emperor was too great. Interesting. The experts of the Jiang clan who were spectating all laughed. They didn't expect that there would be so many powerful characters willing to fight for Qin Wentian. Before this, everyone's conjecture was wrong. This battle was basically incomparable to the one that happened in the Evergreen Kingdom back then. In that battle, the Namhuang clan sent people to participate. But this time around, the Southern Phoenix matriarch brought along her divine phoenixes. For this battle, there were 3 supreme devil halls on the Devil Mountain, as well as the Buddhists from the Wenxin temple. Such a powerful lineup, one couldn't help but to be impressed by Qin Wentian. But even so, when faced against over 10 powers that wanted to kill Qin Wentian, such a lineup was still somewhat weak. This was the reason why everyone in the immortal realms felt that Qin Wentian would die for sure. The lineup to kill him was simply too strong, so strong that it caused people to feel despair. Qin Wentian stared at the battlefield. Those who wanted to kill him, those who fought for him, and those who wanted nothing more than to be the fishermen that reaped the benefits from the conflict, he saw all of them in his eyes and remembered them all. At this moment, who would have thought that the participants of this battle would lay down the foreshadowing for the future of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? This scene would be recorded in the history of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Even after countless years, people would still talk about it enthusiastically. Chapter 1528. Other than those who expressed their intentions to participate, Baiming Nongyue, Li Yufeng and Qin Wentian's relationship was also very good. However, just based on this layer of friendship, it was impossible for the Dark North Immortal Emperor and the experts from the 100 Refinements sect to participate in this storm. Similarly, the Ying clan and Thunder God Hall, who had a grudge against Qin Wentian, also didn't plan to participate. They only wanted to spectate from the sidelines. The chaotic period of the immortal realms has already arrived. Accumulating strength was the most fundamental. Being able to see the other peak powers fighting against each other was something they wished for. If they didn't want to, they naturally wouldn't participate. Unless, at a crucial moment, they didn't mind stabbing Qin Wentian. In any case, no matter how many experts participated, Qin Wentian had to die. There was no doubt about this. The Sunluo Immortal Emperor didn't mind Qin Wentian committing suicide. However, since there were people who wanted to fight for Qin Wentian, he could only personally act to kill Qin Wentian. Glancing at the Southern Phoenix matriarch in the air, he turned to the Emperor of the Forok race. You have a similar bloodline to him. Since this is the case, I will leave the Southern Phoenix matriarch to you. The name of the Emperor of the Forok race was Jia Yema. He was a supremely powerful demon emperor who had the fusion of two supreme bloodlines. His talent was unparalleled and he was an extremely terrifying old monster. This time, when Jia Huangtian was killed, he just so happened to be in the city of ancient emperors. In addition, Jia Huangtian was a descendant he had high hopes for and had obtained his guidance. Hence, he personally came to the Evergreen Kingdom. He also wanted to see how strong the Southern Phoenix matriarch, who had the bloodline of the primordial divine phoenix and was also the strongest expert of the human race, the Namhuang clan. In an instant, the experts in this space all connected to the heavens and earth, shining with resplendent light. Those who didn't participate in the battle unceasingly retreated, preparing to give up the battlefield. A battle of this level was sufficient to affect the entire royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. The evergreen tree had already enveloped the entire space below the royal capital. And the others were all drawn into it as well. Evergreen. The Chongqing the Great spat out a cold voice. The eternal evergreen tree that covered the entire imperial city moved. Countless vines let out rustling sounds as they shot towards all the enemies. They were like a prison of vines, wanting to trap all the experts within. It was like a prison of heaven and earth. Every branch and leaf of the vine emitted a dazzling radiance, imbued with the power of laws, evergreen and indestructible. A terrifying wave of demonic might shot up into the sky. Jia Yema of the Forok race moved, transforming into his true form. In an instant, a gigantic Forok blotted out the sun. With a flap of his wings, everything was slashed apart. He directly lunged towards the Southern Phoenix matriarch and the divine phoenix she was mounted on. The Southern Phoenix matriarch exuded a magnificence that was rarely seen in the world. She stretched out her jade-like hand and pointed a finger forward. An illusory divine phoenix rushed towards the Forok, exuding inextinguishable flames. Since the Southern Phoenix matriarch joined the battle, the immortal emperors of the Namhuang clan who came together with her naturally wouldn't stand by the side and watch. All of them stepped out, joining the battle. The Southern Phoenix matriarch represented the entire Namhuang clan. Her participation in the battle indicated the attitude of the Namhuang clan. Capture them. The experts of the White Tiger people howled as they rushed towards the immortal emperors of the Namhuang clan. Terrifying spatial light radiated forth. A terrifying void beast king soared through the air, piercing through everything as it rushed towards Qin Wentian. The eternal evergreen tree that enveloped Qin Wentian shattered unceasingly. Chongqing the Great wanted to use the eternal evergreen tree to protect Qin Wentian. But how could it be so easy when facing the attacks of so many experts? At the same time, another expert soared through the air. It was none other than GD. A terrifying spatial storm manifested around her, directly enveloping her opponent within. Several void beast demon emperors rushed over, clashing against the immortal emperors under GD. The most powerful emperor-level battle in the countless years of the immortal realms erupted in the Evergreen Kingdom. The immortal emperor of the Sacred Sun sect walked out. He was a supreme expert, the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect. Sunlight cascaded down from the sky as he transformed into a true sun. Boundless sun flames blazed forth, incinerating the vines of the eternal evergreen tree. In the air, a fearsome might suddenly locked onto him, enveloping him. This caused the eyes of the Sacred Sun sect's sect leader to gleam with coldness. He inclined his head and stared at the sky. A pillar of flames directly soared up into the sky, incinerating the heavens as a sacred sun sword manifested. The sacred sun sword pierced through the air and shot towards Emperor Yu, who was in the air. Emperor Yu's body also shone with astral light. The arrow in his hand shone resplendently, radiating towering sun flames that seemed capable of shooting down the sun. That's the Divine E arrow, a supreme divine weapon once used by ancient Emperor E. A divine light flashed in the eyes of an expert. He could feel the heaven-shaking might of that arrow. Right now, it was actually in the hands of Emperor Yu. This old fellow had truly hidden himself very deeply. Before this, he had actually been hiding in the God Hand Mountain Manor, not revealing his true abilities. The divine arrow shot through the air, directly penetrating through the sacred sun sword that the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect unleashed, shooting towards the sect leader. However, as the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect, how could he not have any powerful treasures on him? The sun crown on his head shone resplendently as heaven-shaking law energy gushed forth, transforming into a sun. With a thunderous boom, the entire space seemed to explode as terrifying flames incinerated everything. Even for ordinary immortal emperors, they had no choice but to retreat. Emperor Yu, who was in the air, wielded the divine E arrow once more. This time around, 3 arrows shot out, enveloping 3 immortal emperors. Other than the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect, the other 2 immortal emperors were also locked onto, causing them to be on guard as they moved closer to their sect leader. A peak stage immortal emperor like Emperor Yu, in addition to the E-God arrow, it was unimaginable how much destructive power he could unleash. If it was someone who just entered the immortal emperor realm, he would definitely be killed in a single strike. There was no doubt that although they were all immortal emperors, how could the disparity of 2 levels be so easy to make up for? The might of this divine E arrow is extremely great. It can even restrict several immortal emperors at the same time. The spectators silently mused. Wherever Emperor Yu's arrow locked onto, everyone would be in danger. This was the best weapon to intimidate others. In addition, when they thought of Emperor Yu's words of revenge earlier, their expressions grew even more unsightly. If Emperor Yu managed to leave this place alive, it would be extremely dangerous. Who wants to join forces with me to kill him? The sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect coldly spoke. His ambitions were extremely great. He actually wanted to make Emperor Yu stay here forever. Both of them were peak stage immortal kings, and Emperor Yu had the divine E arrow. However, the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect didn't fear Emperor Yu at all. It's just that it wouldn't be so easy to kill him. In addition, if Emperor Yu was allowed to continue fighting, it would be a huge threat to them. Hence, he might as well bring along a peak character to kill Emperor Yu. I'll go. Zidi coldly spoke. Emperor Yu had provoked him time and time again and would indeed be a threat in the future. It would be for the best if he could use this chance to kill Emperor Yu. The Sacred Sun sect was a supreme power in the central regions of the immortal realms. One could very well imagine how powerful the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect was. If it wasn't for the fact that the commotion this time was so great and he was coincidentally in the city of ancient emperors, he wouldn't have come here. 2 experts soared up into the air and instantly shot towards Emperor Yu. Emperor Yu's eyes flashed. He didn't choose to fight directly. He directly soared higher up into the air. If he was surrounded by 2 peak stage immortal emperors, it would be extremely disadvantageous to him. With the divine E arrow in his hands, his long-range attacks would be extremely useful. Naturally, if he could make these 2 peak characters unable to participate in the battle, he would also be able to gain an opportunity for the others. The Skymist Immortal Emperor and several other immortal emperors from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom were intercepted by the immortal emperors from the Heavenly Talisman realm. The Emperor Qianbian was still fighting against his old opponent, Eastern Sage, while the greater demon from the Heavenhold race was intercepted by the Judiciary Devil Hall. The Sanluo Immortal Emperor grabbed out in the air as a towering might gushed towards Qin Wenyin. The ancient Buddha statue of the Wenxin Temple appeared before him, and as Buddhic chants rang out, the entire space around him transformed into a world of Buddhas. Why does your Wenxin Temple have to participate in this battle? The Sanluo Immortal Emperor coldly spoke. Benefactor Qin and the Wenxin Temple are fated. Fate is enough. The Reverend replied. When the 9 Emperors Immortal State, the Supreme Sword School and the Taihua Immortal Dynasty rushed over, there were experts from the Apostle Devil Hall and myriad Ancient Devil Hall blocking their way. Only such a battle is interesting enough. An immortal emperor from the Ying clan laughed uproariously. The entire royal capital was enveloped by the might of an emperor-ranked battle. Chongqing the Great made use of the eternal evergreen tree to attack the immortal emperors from all directions. However, he would also suffer from powerful attacks from time to time, causing the eternal evergreen tree to shatter unceasingly. From the looks of it, Qin Wentian's side was barely able to contend against the immortal emperors. But in truth, it was clear with a single glance. They could only barely hold on for a moment. It was basically impossible for them to ensure that Qin Wenyan didn't die. And this was also when the alliance powers didn't move out in full force. Some of them were still in the city of ancient emperors or in their clans. In fact, everyone could see that these immortal emperors were extremely ruthless. Since the Southern Phoenix matriarch said that all grudges would be resolved after this battle, they naturally didn't hesitate to use this chance to kill some immortal emperors. Hence, although they had an absolute advantage, they didn't attack too ferociously. They were suppressing their opponents, aiming to kill the immortal emperors. If not, the sect leader of the Sacred Sun sect and Zidi, these two peak characters, wouldn't have joined forces to deal with Emperor Yu. But even so, an immortal emperor soon arrived before Qin Wenyan. An immortal emperor from the Supreme Sword School stepped out. Every step he took caused heaven-shaking sword might to radiate from him. Astral light cascaded down on him as his sword intent penetrated through everything, directly slamming into Qin Wenyan, causing the faces of many to turn pale. However, Qin Wentian's body shimmered with a heaven-shaking law light. His constellation manifested from his astral souls shone brightly as a river of sword chi manifested behind him, shooting up into the air, aiming for the incoming sword intent. You will die sooner or later. You're just putting up a last-ditch struggle, implicating others. Although the immortal emperor from the Supreme Sword School was only an initial stage immortal emperor, it was already sufficient to kill Qin Wenyan. Even Chongqing the Great was being held back and had no time to spare. Many people sighed. As expected, no one could save Qin Wenyan. That immortal emperor from the Supreme Sword School stepped out. Sword intent descended from the heavens as he pointed a finger at Qin Wenyan. His paragon sword penetrated through everything, slashing into the river of sword chi. The surrounding area was filled with countless swords. They were on a completely different level compared to immortal kings. The boundless sword intent penetrated into Qin Wentian's body. His expression was extremely unsightly to behold. He closed his eyes as though he was putting up a last-ditch struggle. Chapter 1529. But at this moment, an immortal king actually used it. However, could it be that Qin Wenyan thought that the power of an immortal king would be able to obstruct an immortal emperor? Immortal emperor? Pei Qing, you are only an initial stage immortal emperor. Bai Ming Nongyue coldly mocked. Before this, Pei Qing still considered himself an immortal emperor, saying that Qin Wenyan couldn't be compared to him. But in the blink of an eye, Qin Wenyan actually killed an immortal emperor. Even with so many experts fighting for him, it was still hard for him to escape death. At the same time, the constellation behind Qin Wenyan transformed into a supreme devil. In just an instant, numerous devils descended from the heavens, causing thunderous rumbling sounds to echo out unceasingly. They directly enveloped all 8 directions, locking down this entire space, blocking the descending light from the heavens. Qin Wenyan does have some brains to actually think of such a method, wanting to fight against immortal emperors. However, it's like an ant trying to shake a tree. Ultimately, he overestimates his own capabilities. Everyone mused. One of the reasons why I can kill so many people from your major powers is because they are all the same as you, believing themselves to be infallible. One must know that astral radiance resonance could greatly amplify immortal emperors. But immortal emperors didn't simply rely on this. Their cultivation bases would also undergo a transformation, and the energy contained within their bodies would also be extremely terrifying. It was very normal for immortal emperors to restrict each other, but immortal kings wanting to sever space? Wasn't this the ravings of a fool? Jun Mingchen, Qing'er and the others stared at such a glorious battle. However, there was no joy in their eyes, only intense worry. The destructive light continued to rain down. It was too fast, the naked eye couldn't even follow it. A roar of humiliation and unwillingness rang out as the palm imprint actually destroyed the sword intent. Finally, the palm imprint slammed into the body of the immortal emperor. Since a single palm imprint couldn't kill the immortal emperor, it would continue to do so. Screams of misery rang out unceasingly, and finally, the immortal emperor's body couldn't withstand the destructive might and exploded, turning into dust. This was just like how celestial kings did not borrow the power of heaven and earth to transform it into their own power of rules. However, could it be that the power that celestial kings themselves contained would be weak? If he was really that weak, then when Qin Wenyan fought with the king of hell, he was shrouded in the Azura hell and the rules were disrupted. Wouldn't Qin Wenyan be vulnerable? Would he still be alive now? Kill! Qin Wenyan roared. The devil god behind him let out a heaven-shaking roar. A pair of devil god palm imprints appeared in the sky. Countless devil god palm imprints descended, resembling beams of destructive light, frenziedly blasting towards the immortal emperor. Pei Qing narrowed his eyes, glancing at Bai Ming Nongyue as he spoke. As an immortal emperor, I naturally have the qualifications to be arrogant. At that time, what did he count for? A mere immortal king dared to be so arrogant before me. If we weren't in the Dark North Royal Palace, how could I spare him? Now, his ending proves everything. One's personality determines one's fate. Sure enough, the attacks on the battlefield became even more violent. Several immortal emperors broke out of the encirclement and charged towards Qin Wenyan. You are truly humorous. The immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School smiled at Qin Wenyan. After that, he slashed out with his sword, but he didn't slash at the gigantic palm imprints in the air. Instead, he directly slashed towards Qin Wenyan. What a mere immortal king dares to do, you, as an immortal emperor, might not dare to do so. He is merely an immortal king, yet he was able to cause half of the major powers in the immortal realms to participate in this war. Pei Qing, you have always boasted that you are extraordinary, the #1 genius of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. But in front of him, your radiance seems to have dimmed. Are you jealous? Bai Ming Nongyue spoke. Pei Qing felt even more unhappy in his heart. Even with the Dark North Immortal Emperor by his side, he couldn't help but snort coldly. From this, one could see how unhappy he was. At this moment, the sky-covering hand that separated the void seemed to have truly turned into a super-terrifying demonic formation. The power of Qin Wentian's bloodline erupted forth ferociously. An incomparably terrifying pitch-black divine turtle appeared, shining with a blood-red light and holy will. It actually wasn't destroyed by the sword slash, causing the immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School to have a look of bewilderment on his face. The sword intent radiating from Qin Wenyan towered. His closed eyes abruptly opened. With just a single glance, the sky changed color. That immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School only felt a towering sword intent transforming into a river of swords gushing over, wanting to pierce into his soul. This caused his eyes to freeze as a terrifying sword might erupted forth from them. If a few hundred more years passed, once he truly broke through to the immortal emperor realm, it would be even more difficult to kill him. The energy in his body frenziedly surged. Right now, Even if he wanted to borrow astral energy from the constellations in the sky, he could only depend on the energy in his body. Instantly, countless sharp swords manifested around him, wanting to slash through everything. However, they were all swiftly destroyed by the devil palm imprints. Qin Wenyin raised his hands as a devil saber appeared in the air, slashing down together with the devil palm imprints, directly aiming for the immortal emperor's soul. Even that immortal emperor felt a piercing pain in his soul as his countenance turned pale. The terrifying devil palm imprints blasted down. Even immortal emperors couldn't ignore them. The immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School pressed his palm down in the air. In an instant, the sword imprints floated before him as the boundless might of the Supreme Sword School swept over everything. Rumble, the frenzied palm imprints slammed down, but they were all destroyed by the sword intent. However, there seemed to be no end to these palm imprints. There were simply too many of them. The Supreme Sword School started to tremble as its sword light grew dimmer and dimmer. Emichim? The eyes of everyone flashed. Qin Wenyin actually still had combat strength left. He wanted to block the immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School from using astral energy from the constellations in the sky. The most obvious sign of an immortal emperor was that the constellations in the sky shone together, far surpassing immortal kings. When emperors fought, they would often use such methods to restrict the strength of their opponents. Many immortal emperors narrowed their eyes. This was especially so for those who hated Qin Wenyin. In that case, Qin Wenyin deserved to die even more. If he didn't die, those who were fighting wouldn't be able to feel at ease. Pei Qing narrowed his eyes as a cold intent radiated from him. This was a topsy-turvy battle. Although the people here were all Empyreans, they still felt a deep shock in their hearts. In the battlefield, that immortal emperor from the Paragon Sword sect pointed out with a finger. His sword intent was boundless and boundless, like a constellation descending from the heavens, wanting to completely engulf the sword river around Qin Wenyin. But at this moment, all the spectators were completely stunned. The one who died wasn't Qin Wenyin. Instead, it was the immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School. Bai Ming Nongyue felt somewhat unhappy when she heard this. She coldly spoke, "Just because I once smacked your face, you became unhappy and became arrogant? Don't forget who was the arrogant one back then in my Dark North Royal Palace." In the end, he was humiliated and had no choice but to flee with his tail between his legs. The might radiating from the immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School grew even more violent. Boundless sword intent converged into one, transforming into a supreme sword. The heavens and earth rumbled as the sword intent towered up into the sky. His lips curled up in an arc, exuding a cold, killing intent. This strike was sufficient to kill Qin Wenyin. This immortal emperor had an unsightly expression on his face. He finally understood the meaning behind Qin Wentian's words. For some people, even if they were only immortal kings, they still couldn't be underestimated. However, to those who wanted to protect Qin Wenyin, this battle was an incomparably joyous one. But at the same time, they couldn't help but sigh. Would such a character really die here? Their battle grew even more frenzied, blocking those immortal emperors who were rushing towards Qin Wenyin. In the direction of the Dark North immortal emperor, Pei Qing stood in the air, quietly watching the battle. He then spoke in a light voice, "This man's cultivation base isn't high enough, yet he is so arrogant. I knew he would die sooner or later, but I didn't expect it to be so fast." An immortal king slaying an immortal emperor? Outside the battlefield, there were people who rejoiced in Qin Wentian's misfortune while there were others who were extremely nervous. Jun Mengchen, Nam Huang Yunxi and the others wanted nothing more than to join the battle. Sadly, although they were already considered outstanding characters at the Immortal King realm and could be considered experts in the immortal realms, the participants today were all immortal emperors. They basically didn't have the qualifications to participate. This meant that even if this immortal emperor of the Supreme Sword School ignored Qin Wentian's spatial isolation and didn't borrow the power of the astral energy from the descending constellations, he would still be able to suppress immortal kings with absolute dominance. Qing'er and Qin Wentian's beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at the battlefield. Or more accurately, they were staring at the location where Qin Wendian was at. At this moment, Qin Wendian seemed somewhat weak. As for Qingya, after experiencing Qin Wentian's marriage proposal and advice, she no longer cried. Her beautiful eyes flickered with an extremely cold determination. Qin Wentian's exhaustion rate was extremely terrifying. Even his body was covered in sweat. There was still a difference between theory and reality. Although he had plotted many times to kill immortal emperors, it was still incomparably difficult for him to do so. This caused him to sigh with sorrow. "Can you all be quiet?" Princess Kitamura frowned, her tone filled with impatience. Bai Ming Nongyue and Pei Qing also didn't continue speaking. That immortal emperor from the Supreme Sword School had a mocking smile on his face. He inclined his head and glanced at Qin Wendian, who had spatial isolation. That incomparably gigantic devil body as well as devil path palm imprints were like a grand formation, isolating this entire space. This defense was actually so strong to such an extent. Although cracks appeared on it, it actually didn't shatter. No wonder he could dominate the immortal king realm unhindered, causing experts from all directions to gather here. All of them wanted to kill him, not only for revenge, but also to eliminate a threat. Since a grudge had already been sown, they couldn't allow such a demon-level character to rise up step by step. The further he grew, the harder it would be to kill him. For this point, Zidi and Dongsheng Heaven Emperor could sense it the deepest. When Qin Wendian was weak, although they had killing intent, they didn't do so because of their status and in consideration of the face of immortal emperors. Hence, it was too late for regrets. The Dongshengshan Gate was destroyed. Zidi's son Zi Daolong was killed by Qin Wendian. Now, just to kill Qin Wendian, they actually had to expend so much effort and mobilized so many supreme powers. Was Qin Wendian going to die? As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, the devil god shadow behind him roared in rage. Qin Wendian pointed his finger in the air and in an instant, the spatial isolation palm imprint moved. It was like the palm of a devil god, unceasingly splitting apart. At this instant, countless devil palm imprints slashed down from the air, aiming for that immortal emperor from the Supreme Sword School. Incineration transformation. Chapter 1530. Pei Qing naturally understood the hidden meaning in Nanfeng Nongyue's words. How could his expression be good? The first time he met Qin Wendian in the royal palace of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, he was extremely proud of his status. But now, the person he once looked down on actually killed an existence on the same level as him. In addition, everyone understood that this wasn't as simple as killing an immortal emperor. Qin Wendian killed an immortal emperor as a cultivator at the immortal king realm. Even if Qin Wendian was an initial stage immortal emperor, how could the initial stage immortal emperors from the Supreme Sword School be weak? Being able to kill immortal emperors at the immortal king realm. In that case, if Qin Wendian broke through to the immortal emperor realm, what sort of grand scene would that be? Sadly, such a scene would never be seen again. Everyone was very clear about this point. There's nothing to compare with a dead man. Pei Qing coldly spoke. There's basically no way to compare, right? The number one genius of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom? Bai Ming Nongyue mocked, but there was no excitement in her eyes. She naturally could see the situation on the battlefield. More and more experts increased their attacks, wanting to kill Qin Wendian no matter what. Even Princess Kitamura, who was beside her, couldn't help but to sigh in her heart when she saw this scene. Although she always felt that Qin Wendian was very shameless, but after today's matter, her impression of Qin Wendian had completely changed. The hegemonic powers of the immortal realms gathered here, surrounding the Evergreen Kingdom and forcing Qin Wendian to show himself. Everyone in the world knew that as long as Qin Wendian appeared, only death would await him. But even so, he still came here without any hesitation. Knowing that he would die for sure, he still came. Such a person, how could you say that he was shameless? It was rumored that he was unrivaled in the immortal king realm in the city of ancient emperors. He killed many supreme geniuses from the peak powers before he won this battle. If those were just rumors, But after personally witnessing him killing an immortal emperor, was there still a need to doubt anything? He would only be stronger and more talented than the rumors said. If he was still alive, he would surely be a hero of his generation in the future. Even if countless major powers in the immortal realms wanted to kill him, given how vast the immortal realms are, he could simply conceal his identity and change his identity, like the saber-sword immortal king, silently cultivating. No matter how many people wanted to kill him, as long as he was careful enough, he might still be able to ascend to the peak of the immortal realms. But he had come. He had come with unparalleled talent. He had come to die. For his sake, the immortal Qinbian Gate, Namhuang clan, GD, Emperor Yu, and even the experts of the myriad Devil Islands and the eminent monks of the Wenxin Temple joined in. This kind of person was completely different from the person Princess Kitamura knew. Hence, she could not help but recall the words that the madman had told her. Thinking about it, she could only sigh. Because, no matter how outstanding Qin Wendian was, no matter how good her feelings for him were, he wasn't far away from death. At this moment, there were two immortal emperors rushing towards him. Although Changqing the Great and the others were frenziedly suppressing them, the number of peak stage and mid-stage immortal emperors wasn't any lesser compared to Qin Wendian. There were even more initial stage immortal emperors. Hence, it was basically impossible for initial stage immortal emperors to break through. On the contrary, Changqing the Great and the others were being suppressed. Staring at the two immortal emperors rushing over, although they were both initial stage immortal emperors, this time around, they no longer underestimated Qin Wendian. Astral light cascaded down on them. The two of them were like gods, unexcelled in the world. They wouldn't give Qin Wendian any chance at all. Among these two immortal emperors, one was an immortal emperor from the Taihua immortal dynasty, the other was a demon emperor from the void beast race. Terrifying spatial energy erupted forth as the powerful demon emperor directly appeared before Qin Wendian. His gigantic claws tore through everything. Those claws were like sharp swords, terrifying to the extreme. Devil might erupted forth from Qin Wendian. The astral light formed from his astral soul was still present, and the Devil King shadow was terrifying to the extreme. 10,000 devils descended, blotting out the sky, instantly enveloping this entire space. When the terrifying claws slammed over, Qin Wendian's bloodline power frenziedly erupted forth, fusing his holy will into the divine turtle's defense. But even so, the defensive barrier was directly torn apart. The sharp claws directly slammed into Qin Wendian's body of laws, causing it to shatter apart. Qin Wendian didn't seem to feel any pain at all. His eyes pierced through everything, directly piercing into his opponent's mind. His sword intent pierced through his eyes, penetrating his opponent's body as a tyrannical force assaulted his opponent's soul. Roar! That void beast roared in rage. His attacks had already arrived before Qin Wendian. There was no way he would fail again. Even if space was separated, it wouldn't be able to obstruct him from killing Qin Wendian. The terrifying claws slashed into Qin Wendian's body. The Emperor-level law energy within him erupted forth with heaven-shaking might, tearing apart Qin Wendian's body of laws. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. The sight of it was too horrible to look at. Many people had already closed their eyes, unable to bear to watch. Arg! Jun Mingchen screamed in agony as he clenched his fists. However, he couldn't go. If he joined the battle, he would only be sending himself to death. He had to stay alive to take revenge for his senior brother. Little Rascal transformed into a gigantic golden beast and rushed forward. However, he was grabbed tightly by that old demon, not allowing him to exit. It wasn't easy for him to find a heaven-devouring beast with a pure-blooded bloodline. How could he allow Qin Wendian to die? His greatest goal was to watch Qin Wendian grow. Purgatory's beautiful eyes flowed with tears. She thought back to the memories she had with Qin Wendian. She wanted to rush out, but she was similarly grabbed by the old heaven-devouring beast, not allowing her to die. The other immortal emperor stood at the back. When he saw that Qin Wendian would die for sure, he didn't act anymore. Die! At this moment, a heaven-shaking roar of rage rang out from Qin Wendian's mouth. Even though his body was being torn apart, he still let out a terrifying roar. The soul-piercing attack, as well as the attack from the dream world, all materialized into reality, directly slamming into the void beast, sending him flying through the air. At the same time, a heaven-shaking devil palm imprint blasted out once more, wanting to destroy everything. It was like a supremely powerful devil formation, slaying the void beast on the spot. Countless people were shocked, staring at the scene before them with disbelief. A final strike before death was actually so terrifying? Killing an immortal emperor. When his body was being torn apart, he could actually still unleash such a powerful killing intent. Was he really just an immortal king? Right now, Qin Wentian's current state could only be described as one that was too horrible to look at. His entire body was soaked in blood, and his body was in tatters. That head of his was in tatters, and it was extremely bizarre. However, that pair of resplendent eyes that shone like the stars in the sky were still able to stir the souls of those who saw it. He stared at the immortal emperor who was in a daze. Senior brother. When Jun Mengchen saw this scene, tears actually appeared in his eyes. How tragic! His exuberant senior brother Qin, who was always calm and collected, was actually in such a miserable state. He hated these people, and he hated himself for being useless. Bai Qing's entire body radiated with a terrifying judgment light. Her eyes were scarlet red, so red that it was terrifying. Her Wenian Gige was suffering from such a torment. Evergreen, White Emperor, the two of us cannot live under the same sky. A howl of grief and anger rang out in the air. It was actually the voice of the Paragon Sword Emperor of the Supreme Sword School. Evidently, the Supreme Sword School encountered the same thing as the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom back then. When the war erupted here, the White Emperor had already acted. The two of us can't live under the same sky. The Changqing the Great's voice was cold to the extreme, causing the expressions of the spectators to change. As expected, although everyone agreed that after this battle, all grudges would be cleared, how could such an emperor-ranked battle be resolved so easily? In addition to the current situation in the immortal realms, with the invasion of the greater demons of the desolate mountains, it was already destined that chaos would descend upon the entire immortal realms. No one would be able to escape unscathed. Before this, the Evergreen Kingdom was originally considered to be on the weaker side. But if these people killed Qin Wenian today and didn't destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, given the peak stage cultivation base of the White Emperor, in addition to the fact that the Changqing the Great and the Evergreen Tree were both here, the balance of power between the major powers in the eastern regions would definitely be reversed. At this moment, the crowd discovered to their shock that the devil might behind Qin Wenian was extremely terrifying. It gushed out frenziedly, enveloping this entire space. Those body parts that were torn apart actually flew back to the original body as they started to reconstruct themselves. Undying energy? You have the undying law attribute energy? That immortal emperor from the Taihua immortal dynasty had an extremely unsightly expression on his face. He initially thought that there was no need for him to be in a hurry to fight. Qin Wenian killed the demon emperor of the void beasts before his death. In that case, Qin Wenian would definitely be an arrow at the end of its flight. He didn't want to be in a hurry to kill Qin Wenian in case he suffered the backlash from Qin Wenian. However, Qin Wenian actually had an undying body. That attack earlier basically couldn't kill Qin Wenian. The constellation behind Qin Wenian grew even more terrifying. One could see numerous resplendent astral souls radiating with all their attribute energies, erupting forth with incomparable ferocity. Terrifying law energy gushed forth, flowing into the terrifying palm imprint in the air. Quickly act! A thunderous roar rang out. That immortal emperor from the Taihua immortal dynasty understood, but he only saw a pair of terrifying eyes that dragged him into a dreamscape. He naturally knew that this was a dream and that he could return to reality. But the problem was that the attacks in the dreamscape were real attacks. Killing a few immortal emperors to accompany me? It's not a loss at all. Qin Wenian laughed maniacally. Boundless law energy gushed forth from him, as though he wanted to drain all his energy. The devilish palm imprint slammed down once more, blotting out the sky as it shot towards his immortal emperor. Although his immortal emperor's attack once again shattered his body, the boundless devil palm imprint also caused his immortal emperor to be on the verge of death. Finally, as a roar of despair rang out, his immortal emperor died earlier than Qin Wenyin. And at this moment, Qin Wenyin was truly an arrow at the end of its flight. The energy in his astral souls had all been sucked dry. A thunderous boom rang out. A mid-stage immortal emperor destroyed his devil palm imprint. He stood in the air, coldly staring at Qin Wenyin with disdain. Even with such a powerful lineup, 3 celestial emperors had been killed by a celestial king. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.